Experience the world's most legendary racing events with iRacing. iRacing special events allow any member to compete in full-length multiplayer races based on some of the biggest events in motorsports all year round. Compete in virtual endurance races, such as the Daytona 24, Spa 24, and the Nürburgring 24 Hours. Take on some of the toughest races on the NASCAR schedule, such as the Daytona 500. We have events from disciplines all across the racing world, from the Indianapolis 500 to the Chili Bowl, from the Bathurst 1000 to the Crandon Championship. Our endurance special events utilize iRacing's team feature, where members can sign up and race together on their own team, swapping drivers throughout the race. Other events utilize iRacing Super Sessions, where you're not only racing against those on track, but against every driver taking part. And as every race progresses, watch and feel the track change with progressive time of day, dynamic weather and rain, and dynamic track debris and surface changes. Take on your favorite discipline or try a brand new racing challenge with our biggest races of the year, the iRacing Special Events. Learn more at iracing.com/special-events.
Today, the top drivers get ready for what's expected to be a fierce special event. All the drivers have been preparing for the Brickyard 400, as today, we're all set to go here on Racespot and on iRacing social media platforms for what's expected to be a wild run here from Indianapolis Motor Speedway. Good evening, everyone, and welcome to today's coverage. I'm Justin Prince. Alongside me is Jonathan Burke for today, with Ramir Cisneros in the production seat for today. Today's expected to be an entertaining one here at the Brickyard. 400 miles, 160 laps, Jonathan, as we get set for a big part of our special event calendar.
Yeah, this race is going to really be a challenge. It's going to test a lot of these oval drivers' patience, especially. It's difficult to pass in these cars. There's going to be a lot of dirty air, a lot of trying to jockeying for position through long green flag runs. So it's going to be really exciting to see how everyone kind of combats that through the 160 laps.
Absolutely, and this is a part of the July schedule with Spa, as well as the 6 hours at Road America coming up. But you still have a lot of other races here for the NIS/the stock cars, if you will. It's one of several special events, such as that we've seen with the World 600 or the Daytona 500, or later the Southern 500 or the Homestead Championship race. There's a lot of opportunities on the oval side of the lease to hit the racetrack, and it's part of a busy slate in general when it comes to the special events in 2026.
Yeah, there's just so much variety for you to have here. Obviously, the 6 hours of Road America is going to be taking place this weekend as well. So, like, something for both the oval and the road guys to really love. It's just a solid calendar all the way throughout. There's always a fun race, no matter what time of year it is.
Indeed, and it's going to be an interesting race here tonight as a result for our competitors as we get set for the Brickyard 400. It's been around since the 1990s. They've raced here in both road course and oval variants in stock car racing. But many of your top drivers, when it comes to those either trying to make efforts in the NASCAR competition, whether that's those connected with the big teams, or in a couple cases, some of the NASCAR iRacing Series drivers in the field, it's expected to be a stacked one. All a part of a hot racetrack. Look at that track temp, 112.
Those tires are going to be screaming, I think, for help after long runs. That's going to be a lot to take in. At least like the air temp 83, so the car's going to be able to follow pretty okay without getting too hot. But I think, Justin, like 20 laps into a run, we're going to see a lot of people struggling for grip.
And it's going to be a fun battle for many of these drivers as a result here today on our platforms. Lots of drivers setting some qualifying times like Gray, Charles Wembley, some of those setting some times. part of this 36-car grid. Did we mention it's a 6,220 SOF tonight? It's a strong one, and all our drivers are geared up after the qualifying session's completion just now to find out who survives to come away as the winner to kiss the bricks. Drivers finished up qualifying moments ago. Let's take a look at how they'll start tonight. 6 at a time. Finnegan Myers starts on the pole today. Dylan Basin makes an appearance. He'll start in second. That's a Ryko 1-2. Johnny Dressler makes it a 1-2-3-4, switching customer base recently alongside the NASCAR driver Sean Conklin. Junsun Lim will start in the top 5 with Evgeny Mozganov amongst those in your top 6, Jonathan.
Dylan Dandy rolls off 7th. Stephen Maggio rolls off 8th. Lars Chenworth in 9th. Thomas Derries rounds out the top 10. Matthew Joe Bryan in 11th. And Joseph Klein in P12.
Tanner Love, who's been strong in around the 4,000 to 5,000 iRacing range for years, will start next to Justin T. Campbell tonight amongst the top 14. Then it's Vinicius Burin, who will be one of the Brazilians in the pack. Charles Wembley, who's a regular in these types of events, in 16th. Brad Newman's in 17th tonight. Nick Olson down in 18th, one of the top 20 in points.
Nolan Hodgins in 19th alongside Keegan Sabila for that top 20. Ted Ledowick in 21st. J.R. Boboromea in 22nd. Yakov Kizirnov in 23rd. And Ricky Hyman in 24th.
25th goes to Wyatt Gray, one of the super speedway aces we've seen in several events. Gabriel Pellegrino starts 26. One other driver took a time. That was Zach Range. The first up out of the non-time takers was James Bomar. Then it's Mario Miranda, who still has a purple license for the NASCAR qualifiers. It's Jacob Brower, who's picked up some wins this week, in 30th.
Taylor Latnerl in 31st. Chad Oxidine in 32nd. Carson Jenkins 33rd. Maggie McGuire 34th. Braden Donaldson 35th. And rounding out top 36 of all of our runners, Justin Milio as the last person who did not take a time.
Justin Manello, you're talking about Malil, I should say. Talking about part of the iRacing staff at the caboose of the field. But as mentioned, we're running 160 laps here tonight. 6 tire sets available in the pit lane for this evening's festivities. 17 incident points get you a penalty. 25, you are done for the night. What are some of your keys to victory, especially when you consider this is open setup? These teams have been working all week to make sure they're ready to go for this SOF for this special event.
Obviously, staying out of trouble. We've seen in some of the earlier splits, there's been a lot of cautions, there's been a lot of chaos. So keeping that car clean for 1, and 2, just remaining calm and staying patient. Again, it's going to be tough to pass. It's going to take a lot of work to pass. So staying calm, keeping patient, don't use the bumper too much early on, and I think you can, get a top 5 or a good finish later on in the race.
Wyatt Gray of note starting for pit road, one of those in the Renko camp. Everyone else made it to the grid to start things off here this evening. Do you have a favorite for tonight, in your opinion? Why?
And I like Dylan Basson. Was up there, that pro rating driver starting second. He was quick during the Coke Series a few weeks ago. I think he's could be quick here as he gets out ahead. Clean air is going to be king, I think, early.
Basin, one of those expect to be strong. No, keep in mind, in the case of a couple of these drivers on the outside in the first 2 rows, they're set for similar league action, mind you, that run the same distance tomorrow. So you're talking about potentially at least 2 to 3 times in the next 3 days you run the 400 miles in a couple of these competitors' sakes. And that's not including the splits from Wednesday, Thursday, or anyone running fixed. But right now, the Brickyard 400 is all set to go. We're happy to have you with us here on Racespot and iRacing social media platforms as we get set to go. Who kisses the bricks today? Let's find out. The green flag is out. We're underway from Indy. Caution flag is out, a spin in the back of the field, and Zach Range One scream of ow on the radio, and around he went from 26. Mario Miranda had contact, and it puts us right under caution. Miranda claims he also had contact on the brakes into turn 1.
Being side by side into turn 1 is so tricky here early on, and this is where like trouble can start. Like these yellows breed yellows because everyone's so bunched up. Running too wide around these corners can be quite difficult.
And keep in mind, attrition's been pretty high this week. Double-digit average and caution flags, yes. But this is a track. When you get a rhythm down, you can trend to long green flag runs, at least in the past. So everyone will catch up with the pace car with Myers up in front of the field and get us geared up to restart pretty soon. At the very bright side, Zach Range didn't hit anything, apparently, in the 33, so no damage from anybody in the field so far.
Yeah, it seemed like just a single car spin. I would be surprised if anyone comes down pit road here. Everyone just gets a reset and we get to go again.
Yes, indeed. Let's see what happens. Zach Range on the bump. Actually, Miranda, yeah, actually did get a shot into it.
That's just a case of you're at the back of the field and you're kind of just trying to judge when everyone's going to start slowing down. I'd love to get like another like side angle of that because it looked like 2 or 3 cars in that train kind of just all ran into each other.
Yeah, I believe that was Tyler Lateral who made a bit of contact in the rear because keep in mind, everybody's trying to remain at the bottom. You're talking speeds about 140 something miles an hour roll speed at the start in 1 and 2 in those runs, and not including the short shoot. So you're having to carry a decent amount of pace heading into the corner in the first place, and I think that's led to the stack up. We do have one driver who hit under this caution, an hour roll speed at the start in 1 and 2 in those runs, and not Nick Olson coming down the lane, 11th in the NIS point standings, which this special event is a part of that, which you can score points in here with the iRacing platform if you run the full campaign like NASCAR drivers do to try and get yourself championships for respective sides. Of that, Car 1 in 21 weeks has won 18 times.
That's... It even says it right here. 49% of his starts or wins. That's insane. I mean, there's a reason why he's racing in
Group CPI's Technically got representation if you want to talk teams. Legacy that has the NASCAR backing is amongst those. Nexus with a couple drivers. A few different drivers representing their organizations here in Top Split. Looking to have speed tonight, Jonathan, in particular for the respective groups. And some of them, mind you, have the data, yes, for the Coke Series. But in a lot of cases, these are drivers that want to represent in the official races too.
I mean, you also mentioned like the amount of leagues and other splits that we've already had. Like how many of these guys have spent laps preparing for all of that or with their teams? Like they're probably close to IndyCar levels of laps turned in Indianapolis this week when they prep for the Indy 500. So I think this is just going to be all that hard work paying off.
On the bright side, if you're a Wyatt Gray fan, there was a rave around this caution. That was the 8 machine. Everybody is on the lead lap. For when we get back going with Finnegan Myers up at the front, Basin, Conklin, Dressler, your top 4. There's a look.
Especially if you get into that wall too hard. Like the optimal line, you're running as close to the wall as humanly possible. So it's going to be like, if we get going and get into a good rhythm, staying out of the wall is going to be big.
Let's get ready for the restart, shall we? Myers, Basin, Conklin, Dressler, we mentioned Mosganov in the top 5. Lim, Nanny, Machio, Darius, Chenoweth inside your top 10. Further way down than you would expect here. Green flag is out. Let's try this again. Let's see if we get past turn 1. Already a few drivers making 3 wide moves. They'll all rumble their way into 1. Conklin trying to get himself clear for 3rd and does. A little bit tight there for the 17.
Yeah, everyone's washing up the hill a little bit out of turn 1, but looks like we're going to get single file pretty quick.
Yeah, down the back straightaway, you'll see just how much these drivers line up. One of the big talking points for competitors coming into today in various different discussion panels is you have to get the arrows right, as we talked about, but it's going to be important to try and get passes done early. It's a hard place to pass with the dirty air.
Well, and Dressler and Maslakov are already proving that right now, because them staying side by side is letting our top three get away. And Lim is trying to look to the inside, being like, look, we got to stay with the lead group. We got to go. We can't afford to have you guys side by side.
Yeah, the gap has already gone to almost a full second with this battle. It's gone off, who's made team changes while you see his colors with the EPI look right now. Still not able to get clearance in the 11th. And now they're trying to sidetrack aggressive. A few drivers in the back had some contact with the wall. Here it's a wreck on the back straight away. No flag yet of the other machines from Brazil in the field. He's now off the pace with heavy damage.
Probably got the one spot on the track you didn't
Caution,
get.
turn 3.
Never mind.
Ted Lowendick, who made an appearance, now is around one of the unusual drivers we see in road course races in the 34 car. Brings us under caution.
There might be some fuel saving to try and do it on 3 stops or 4 stops. But I think track position is so key. Like, you don't want to be back in that hornet's nest.
Yep, exactly. So, in your opinion, if you are some of these drivers, how do you get the track position when you're in a situation like this outside of doing what some of the back of the drivers are doing, trying to see if they flip things? What would you do if you're a part of this field?
You just have to kind of take it one position at a time, go like kind of size everyone up one position at a time, and know that it's not going to be done on your first attempt. Like, these aren't like your Indy cars where you can clear someone in the corner. It's going to take a little bit of pace. So especially if you're building that setup, you know, in an open setup like this, you want to build for the long run. So when these guys start struggling, when the tires are losing grip, that's when you can really make your mark.
We'll find out how much drivers want to go in terms of aggression early on here. But by the time we get back going, it should be about lap 10 here for this one. We'll find out in a moment how aggressive drivers want to push. Some of the drivers who topped off include Burin, Gray, Olsen, Lowendick came down, part of his service of tires. Moluo took some repairs, I believe. Keegan Spilo also came down as Maggie McGuire, and Rema also came down for service for 30+ seconds. That being said here, it's important to mention, since the last time we've seen these machines on the platform for a special event, it's not including the Coke Series that had this in the past couple weeks. Remember, the last time we seen NIS on the iRacing platforms, it was still with the 14-second tire stops. Now it's like we've seen the last time the Coke Series came here, 10-second pit stops for a 4-tire change like in real life, part of the recent updates within the past month to this car, as well as some big aerodynamic platform adjustments we've seen in the past few months.
I think that timing is going to be big for when everyone's grouped up under yellow and pitting, because you're like 4 less seconds in the box means there's going to be a couple more cars maybe coming by you in the box. So it's something to keep aware of when big groups come down pit road. But under green flag, this is one of the longest pit roads in oval on the service. So I don't think it's going to make much of a difference if we do get some green flag stops.
So we're at 1 to go, coming up to lap 10. Myers, Basin, Conklin, Dressler, followed by Mosganov, Lim, Nanny, Maggio, Klein, Chenoweth, Campbell, and then Dariz inside the top 12, the Spaniard rounding out the top 12 group. Your biggest mover is Braden Donaldson, the 32, has been plugging away at the spots at the back of the grid, has been able to get the 24th so far. As you see, a few drivers are still coming down for some lengthy pit stops, actually.
Yeah, it could be topping off, could be repairs. There's a variety of different reasons, because obviously we mentioned the aero. Like, this is a very aero sensitive track. You don't want to be losing a couple tenths of aero.
even 20 seconds of damage, it can destroy a race here, from what we've seen from a lot of competitors with how tight the speed differences can be here tonight. You want to make sure the car's clean. So we'll find out if anyone goes the opposite of that and adds lots of damage just like that with the way things started off trend-wise. With 2 caution flags early, let's see if we get some laps in. The entire field is already suggesting on the radio they should take turns and introduce themselves to everybody over the radio if we get a 3rd caution. So let's find out if they follow that advice as well, if that comes into play.
I'm imagining this is like a bit like you're in like a, like you're all in shares sitting around like my name is Dylan. Hi Dylan, like something like that.
Yes, something like that I think is exactly what some people are maybe imagining. But the drivers are ready for the run. Let's find out how this one goes. Green, 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 we're back on our way. Good start for Myers up in the front of the field. Conklin this time will try and clear by the 17, but the 17's got a better squeeze this time. Keep that side by side. Look at the difference between 2nd and 3rd already.
And these two are going to have to sort this out quick, Dressler and Conklin. Otherwise, the 2 leaders are going to get away. I mean, look at the hornet's nest in the back. I think it was 4 wide for fighting for like 20th.
Yeah, it's 3 wide back here, and some of these drivers are taking some low lines. Look at the big runs for Sabilo amongst those going. 2 by 2 for a lot of the others as they rumble their way to the corner. Meanwhile, little bit of a hornet's nest, if you will, with some of these top drivers looking to get track position. The front of the field keeping calm as we complete the lap.
And taking a low line in for Pat, like, you get out of that corner so tight, especially in these first ones. You're going to see it right here. Going into turn 1 with how low you go, you have to lose a lot more speed. So that is what's going to slow down the pack and is going to create a lot of these bigger gaps in the field.
We're seeing just how much the top 2 are able to build up some gaps here as a result of an initial squabble. Dressler, at the least, is in front of Conklin. Right now, they're carrying speeds of almost 200 miles an hour down the straightaways. The way these cars are set up tonight. At full son, we talked about 140 off the initial roll through the corners. That goes up to near 170. Now they're at full pace.
And the longer we get these laps in, we're going to start to see these tires fall off and having to get a little bit of pace fall off. I appreciate the wave from Lars. I'm glad he was able to focus again for turn 1.
Yes, indeed. Getting a camera viewpoint of the 21. Seen this machine or this driver a few times when it comes to the higher up SOFs. Right now pushing tight though, under pressure, Joseph Klein will side draft and pull back the 21 aggressively here. See how much that's slowed up a little bit to the center of the straightaway. And there goes the move by the 19, nearly cleared.
I feel like the facial reaction said it all. I don't think we need to say anything more of how close that was.
Yeah, that got razor thin a little bit on that entry for a moment. Single file forming up for a lot of the others here. All that being said here, this is now to where it's early in the run. We look to see who's able to establish something. Because one of the major things you have to think about with the setup is trying to get the weight right with this machine, trying to get the downforce levels a little bit on, do you want to be faster in the corners or down the straights? There's long stretches of straightaway here, and we're seeing just how much with the pull of the draft here even. Bason's able to keep up pretty well with Myers, who's gotten himself already a 10th quicker than everybody else on the racetrack. The vast majority of the field is running 52-second lap times here, Jonathan, but the leaders, the top 4 specifically, are in the 51 still.
Yeah, that clean air is going to be king, and like they're going to be following the pace of that 10 car throughout the lap. And again, it's going to be interesting to see over the next few laps. So I've been sitting in on some of the fixed day and open day, and about 10 laps in, we were seeing like a second slower pace. So it's going to be interesting to see how some of these guys have set up their cars. Maybe Basson is trying to conserve his tires a little bit. Maybe not going to go after Myers at this point.
take a look at one of the air drivers here in the heart of the field. You're falling on board in the heart of the field. With us is Kursanov, who provided his on board. 26 machine running in 20th to start things off. After qualifying 23rd. He's had to work his way through some of the chaos at the back already. But one of those that had a bit of contact earlier, Mario Miranda, now is underneath him. That's the 7 car looking to squeak on by and has some help possibly from Brayden Donaldson.
This just shows you how hard it is to really close off that move because of the 90-degree corner. It's not like a wide 2 mile like at Michigan where you have room to get the slide job off. There's no extra room.
All that's to say, as a lot of these drivers get into rhythm, here's Lim, one of those that is busy in the league scene usually, but has become one of the top drivers for his group. Here and there's a wreck on the back, straight away though. It's going to be the 28 around. 28 spins for the caution flag. Was running 27th. Second incident of the day for the Brazilian.
Oh, when it rains, it pours.
James Bomar, I believe, may have gotten into the back bumper because at 28 may have hit the wall. Again, attrition can be pretty high at times this week in this series we touched upon, but if you get any of these apexes run for one, the on throttle point, you get tight with the arrow, this is what happens. He missed the bottom in 2. He did a great job at least to avoid contact jump.
I was going to say, like, Bomar might need to come to the pits for a change of clothes, not a change of tires, because that was a code-brown moment for him. Yeah, like, you hit the curbing a little bit, you can go up in the wall. You set up is too tight, you can go up in the wall. Like, the margins of error here, no matter what you're racing, either the open wheel side or the stock car side, it's pretty thin, and I think 28 has unfortunately found that out the hard way.
So this brings us past lap 16 early on in this one once we cross the stripe. Top 4 hasn't changed outside of Dressler and Conklin trading those positions. Your biggest mover now at the top of the caution flag, Latterall and Donaldson are now both up 13. Brower is up 11. And obviously, when you're talking about these types of races, a lot of people are going to want to race. Here tonight, 575 people are currently taking part. As you see, the 28 battle that machine after contact.
I think there was nothing much Bomar could do there. He checked up as much as he could after that initial contact, but it's so hard. When you see a car pushing like that in the corner, it's so easy to just follow them in. And this is an interesting thing. We have a couple guys that have been out there since the drop of the green now pitting, possibly for tires. I remember only 6 sets you get to change.
Talk about having to make them last a long time, though. The run's going to be about 40-something on seconds, 40-something on laps, I should say, here today. That's why a few drivers are not on the jacks. Keegan Sabelo amongst those jumping on it. Bilo should say. Lowell still getting repairs. A few of the leaders staking it out, though, on the circuit. So a lot of fuel onlys at the least. All while Myers continues to remain as the race leader early on. And this one has led all 16 so far.
It'll be interesting to see if there is going to be a big difference with that 10 lap difference in just the handful of green flag laps that we've run for some of these guys that did take tires. Because now you're going to be at the rear of the field where maybe it's more side by side, the pace is a little bit lower. So we'll see if anyone's able to really make any moves.
And this is going to be a major thing to watch for, absolutely, is just, you talked about the 1 second of fall off in 10 laps alone. That fall off can reach upwards of a second and a half or so in most tracks. A lot of these drivers are going to shuffle if we get that long distance run you're referring to. Mind you, though, it's going to be also curious if we have enough laps put in for the difference of tires to come into play. The 13 at Brower was the first driver to take a set in this field, at least in the last caution. The only drivers who have pit that did not pit that time was Oxidon, Range, and Olsen, who elected to keep themselves in the 20s as we double up this time.
Yeah, they're going to get a little bit of a help off the line, but again, like we saw at the start, like things can happen quick going into turn 1, so they might not be able to reap that benefit until we get strung out. But even then, like how many real flat out laps have we had? Like I don't know if it's that much of a difference yet to offset necessarily.
Good thing to mention, one of the drivers just made point of this also. Wind gusts are going to be an interesting thing. It's currently pretty gusty out there. 3 to 11 mile-an-hour winds hearing so far in the session, but the tailwind in turn 2 currently. That direction is currently to the west specifically. So right now, keep that in mind. That's going to make it hard to make the corners too.
Well, then the track temp, I think we underlined that earlier too. Like it's hot, it's slick. Like these tires are going to be screaming for help at the end of 20 laps.
It's going to be big tire conservation concerns for some of the drivers, absolutely, as we progress through the evening. But for now, here's how they set up with the top 10. Myers and Basin, Conklin and Dressler, Lim as well as Maggio. You also have Chenoweth and Nanny inside the top 10. Matthew J. O'Brien, Joseph Klein, just outside the cusp or in the cusp of it. Keep in mind as well, keep an eye on the 25 car potentially tonight. Up in the top 12 or so is when you look at the official NASCAR iRacing Series point standings, is actually second, yet to get a win, but has been consistent enough, not factoring in the drop, to have good points tallies since he's ran a lot of races. Justin Prince, Jonathan Burke once again in your broadcast booth here on Racespot for those just tuning in. Ramiro Augustus Cisneros is our producer here this evening as we are getting ready to start lap 19 for this year's iRacing Brickyard 400. We're just about all set to go. Green flag is out. We're back underway. Good start for Myers. Gets himself clear as look at Dressler having an opportunity for second. Basin, the NASCAR driver, gets clear, and Conklin goes for third instead. 3 wide for top 3 position. Into the line goes Mozgonov. Did not work, and look at Nanny. Instead, he gets the chance to go 3 wide. Lim trying to get some help from Steven Maggio, his teammate, to get through in a bit of contact. Mozgonov backs up a little bit. They all survive for 3 and 4.
This is already like a gift almost to Basin and Myers, because look at the gap they're able to pull just from everyone being side by side, almost a half second. So they're able to kind of fight amongst themselves.
Back of the field, it's getting a little bit wild again. Seems like the action is following that 33 car. Zach Range has been trying to keep himself protected. Nanny, meanwhile, up a couple spots from his qualifying effort, trying to hold back the 9 machine. You see him in the mirror. Up the track goes Limit to the wall, but there they go again. Mozgonov around with them. They both slam the inside wall, but they're on the apron, so no caution.
It's like one of the handful of spots in the track where unfortunately chaos can occur and you're not going to get a caution. That's going to be a lengthy repair and maybe day done for a good finish.
Yeah, that is unfortunate. With no caution too, this could get interesting for them the rest of the way, needing some luck. All while the first battle is Chenoweth, the Munstow's getting shuffled. Packs are starting to split up into their little groups yet again, as you see. Nanny's 3 machine try and find a way to power his way from Maggio 16.
I think now that we've had a couple restarts, I think this top group or so is kind of taking notes of how everyone's driving. I think Bassin and Conklin have taken the note of, all right, Nanny and Dressler are going to be aggressive. And I think when it's going to be laps later, it's going to get wilder. This is the replay of Lim. Just into the wall, and there's really nothing the 11 could do.
Yeah, in that case, 9 getting tight is enough to ricochet him down with personal stop. Not going to expect him to ricochet off the wall there. Both of them are now at least 10 seconds back of the next nearest car as a result of that contact. All that's to say, first of those who pit, remember the new tires we talked about? Keep an eye on Broward. 13 machine is on the move. He's already alongside Darius for the top 16.
Couple laps can make a difference. It shows, especially with the track temp. And now since we're single filed out, it's going to be easier for him to pick them off one by one as opposed to these big two wide groups that we had at the restart.
All this is going to be where a lot of these leaders, keep an eye on the fall. Already you're seeing 3/10 of it so far. It's going to be an interesting thing. All this is going to be where you have to wonder where some of the teams may adjust as well once we get to that pit stop situation down the line. Because we know this track is going to change, and with the way things have worked on the platform this year, we may see this track pick up a fair bit more. The more rubber gets put down, the more you're going to have to set research around the track temp continuing to go up at least 5+ degrees since we started this race. With the more laps we turn under green, the hotter it's going to get.
And I feel like that's not a good thing. That's going to make these corners slick. These tires are just not going to grip, and they're going to lose a lot of wear really quickly. A lot of these guys may be looking for more downforce, maybe trying to get some other adjustments in the car, lower the ride height even. Just anything, I think, to get a bit more grip is going to be the biggest concern on entry, but then on exit, it's a double-edged sword because we're already seeing some of these guys are already really tight.
Yeah, you see with some of the drivers right now how much is working out for a couple of them in particular. You see some side-by-sides up the road. That was Dressler. They're attacked by Nanny, by the way, on that side-by-side. So right now, some of the regulars, if you will, continuing to see what happens with a battle like this. Look how much time they lose. Again, the side-by-side with the side drafting coming into play. But these two, not making it too easy. You're talking about Dressler just making the setup change for where he gets them for this week. Nanny, one of the factory drivers for his group, looking to go forward.
I think this is a sign that, like, track position's key. Like, Dressler's willing to fight this so early on, knowing that, you know, track position, especially if we get a long green flag run, like, this is going to pay off later on.
Meanwhile, look at this is Nolan Hodgson. He's been a driver who's been impressing one of the youngsters in the NASCAR up-and-comers list, you can argue. He's top 10 as points. Behind him, Chenoweth still riding and launching around with intrigue. This is actually pretty impressive with the 21. One of the best starts I think we've seen with Lars in the racing control career so far on the platform. Big SOF, big opportunity if he's able to score some points here today. Lars is.
The in-car also showed some of the difficulty of this place. Like, these cars are shifting here. We're shifting from 5th down to 4th, and you have to use a bit of that engine braking to slow yourself down in the corners too. So drivers may also be adjusting their lines and how and when they're shifting in order to get a better entry, better exit out of these corners.
Keep an eye on Charles Wembley, center screen, by the way. He's been one of those that has moved in the top 300 in Oval iRating. One of those that also has, in a lot of cases, focused on the karting side. He's gotten opportunities to race over at K1 Circuit down in California. That, of course, for the past 2 years, won by Garrett Maines, an NASCAR competitor. For those who race in their local tracks in the respective cities and then states, to then qualify to race equally powered rental carts, electric rental carts, to go to the big circuit and compete against those who are the best in the nation for their respective club circuits. Wembley, one of those that's picked up those opportunities in recent years.
It's also a good opportunity to showcase, your talent on the oval and also just get that name and notoriety back to the, the places you grew up, the karting scene that you grew up.
Yeah, exactly. And remember, there's a lot of different ways you can go about the racing side of things. We know on the platform, if you want to move up to the ranks, in a lot of cases, the big thing is, when you think about it, a lot of the top talent these days that have made their way into the O'Reilly Series or the Craftsman Truck Series, in a couple cases the Cup Series, about 10 years ago, there were some of your youngsters and or up-and-comers in the NASCAR space working with some of the big teams. Take Carson Hoceval, worked with a few different big organizations. Parker Retzlaff worked with a few big organizations after focusing on the short tracks. Here, meanwhile, Carson Jenkins on the Wiggles in the 23.
We haven't had many green flag laps, but you can already see the handling on some of these cars is going away. I think both Wimberly and Chenoweth are trying to, or Hodgson and Chenoweth, excuse me, are trying to get by as well, but just unable to do so.
Was the pass there in the backdrop, by the way. All that as we watch on. A couple of these battles as they go. Right now, Maggio still holds on to 6 in a part of what has become a conga line of race cars. We're already almost 30 laps in the fuel runs here, keep in mind. We're talking about 10 laps or so away from when we expect to potentially see some of the first pit stops, maybe, under green at least. And this is still a decently difficult place to enter pit road, but it's not the most difficult, you can argue, with it being a straight line off of turn 4. The thing about this pit lane is where the yellow cone is compared to IndyCar, obviously.
No, it's like a no hard way to get into this pit road, but like it's a hard way to maximize your time getting into this pit road, especially since it's so long. You could lose so much time, especially, you know, if you go ahead and go speeding, and then a speeding penalty is also a lot of time given how long this pit road is.
Hodgson, you see, by the way, while we're discussing this, is still side by side with Chenoweth. Still nothing going, and Matthew J. O'Brien trying to pick who he wants to go. That Legacy Motor Club paint scheme. Lex to stay behind, and the 21 gets cleared yet again. Good defense so far from them in this, but keep in mind, some of those who have at least come in for All-Star are starting to move forward. Lateral, you see him taking some pokes back there. You see some of the others also in the second pack, like Brad Newman, also trying to fight with some of those that had service too, that are in this pack, like the 13 we talked a lot about, still trying to find a way to go. You also have others like Donaldson going forward now.
Yeah, I think those that stayed out, I think they've started to hit the cliff of where these tires are starting to fall off, and the payoff of coming in a couple laps ago is starting to come those guys' way. The problem is for Lateral and Brower is, like, once all these guys pit, they're kind of on their own little island. They're going to need to find some of these guys on the same strategy or make some friends. Otherwise, like, they're not in the group. They might be hampered a little bit.
Yeah, there's a lot of ways, as we said, this type of a battling day can go. But, mind you, as these drivers all situate themselves, think about it this way when it comes to splits, when it comes to the open side. You have some of these that have been already running multiple splits. We've had 2 major times so far for the open side for top split competition. Navarro and Brower are those 2 names, remember. Brower was in a 53.78, a 48.51 on the Thursday afternoon in the case of Navarro. The Friday has always been one of those that a lot of the big drivers, though, with availability, of course, have kind of emphasized making sure they're here for. Because if you want to be able to show what you can do against good talent, you have to compete here. This used to be the staple, and still is, for many teams to prove they've got the best setup out of anybody.
It's a good showcase as well for anyone that's looking to move up into any other leagues or series. For anyone that's, you know, trying to break in to that higher echelon of, like, hey, this is how I'm showing my stuff, I'm improving, I'm getting these times.
Race leaders look like this still, by the way. The top 3, all single file, all running with an attempt to be on pace on average. They pulled away by a second and 3/4. And I believe there's a lot of conversation with some of them on the radio. To Myers' surprise, I think he doesn't realize he's talking to the entire field about strategy a bit. Either way, you have to think these three are in sync with them being, in terms of the technical alliance side, all in the same group in terms of setup philosophy.
And I think they're all going to have to think about pitting together, possibly, since they are 1.5 seconds away from the lead. And again, you lose so much time here, so it's also just the timing of when you go and where you come out. So I wouldn't be surprised to see a lot of these guys like hanging out until the very last minute, just praying for a caution, knowing that there's going to be a lot of guys behind them that are struggling on keeping it straight.
Absolutely. And right now, in this type of a race, the long run is what a lot of teams have to emphasize on if you want to be able to go. You can't just trust that the entire race is going to have attrition the entire day. This has been already a run we're talking about of near 20, if not already past 20 laps from the initial chaos. Yes, 15 plus laps, I should say, in terms of what we've seen run-wise. Take a look at Conklin centerfold, by the way. The one machine, we talked about its dominance here in this type of racing. It's usually up at the front. He's been able to stay at the front, and I wonder what we're going to see from him. He's the fastest out of the three here.
Do you think maybe he, talks to Basson, given that they are teammates in the NASCAR side, and says, hey, do you want to work together, maybe save a lap or two of fuel, try and get the draft off each other? I don't know if it's going to be as effective as I'm thinking it is, thinking about, like, well, we're here for racing an IndyCar, you can save a lap or two, but, like, that's a different animal compared to these stock cars.
Yeah, you have to think at the very least, they're talking with their team manager right now, that probably is going to make sure everyone's at least keeping in mind what the adjustment has to be. Some battling going on, though. O'Brien amongst those through. Lateral continuing to move forward, is now in the top 10, while Chenoweth gets shuffled to the back of the queue by a sea of EPI machines. That 15 Ian Sim chugging along on these slightly fresher tires, and it is making a bit of a difference in clean space by a tenth or so.
I think it's making a difference going through the pack, because now we're kind of near the tires limit, especially with the track temp. So I think Brower and Lateral have kind of showed to the field that, like, yeah, fresher tires, even in a couple laps, is going to be worth your while.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting for them. For here, what is planned out. By the way, slow up there on Chenoweth. Chenoweth, long run pace falling back. Mario Miranda, Super Mario from the state of Oklahoma on the esports side, trying to zip his way by in the background. But the two drivers you see, Brower again gets give and take. O'Brien staying out of the track. Has his teammate move forward and continue to plug away. You see right there, trying to push him along because they've lost a fair bit of ground to Lateral, who's on the same cycle as the 13.
You go back to the 21 too. I think this is also like, it's a shades of Martinsville almost, where you're trapped on that outside. 21 does not want to be there. Running this higher line is not optimal. But there's just been no space for Chenoweth to get a clean lap, and if someone's in the wall.
Yeah, a little bit of scrapey scrapes there as a couple drivers go dodging around. Chenoweth taking 3 wide offset. That's Nick Olson. Olson. Cassie racing look on the machine here tonight. One of those that works in the racing scene. Has popped up a few times in his racing career with a few different groups. Now falling behind that 21 in the choo-choo train along with Tanner Love.
And now he's at least been able to get back to the bottom, but again, like, you get trapped in the outside. It's just so hard to get back into rhythm. You feel a little helpless. It almost feels like Martinsville, but you're just traveling 3 times as fast.
Yeah, this track, we talked about the pace already. It's kind of equalizing out at 1.2 seconds rather than just a 1.5 right now. For fall off, and we have a spinner. 2 cars around, in fact. Wyatt Gray is in the wall. Caution flag is out as Oxidine is in and also. The 22 with heavy damage. We're back under yellow right before the pit window.
That inside wall has taken out a few good cars. I mean, this is good news for those that didn't pitted. Really good news. If you remember the other spin down to that inside wall for Mozargoff and Lim, I believe they're still on the lead lap. They were just off the pace, so they can catch up to the back of the field and get repairs as well.
So this puts us right to the caution flag yet again. Coming up to lap 40. Should see everybody pit this time. Already. Driver's going to have to slow up to make sure they catch up to the pace car. That's going to be critical. But once they get to there, that's down the back straight away. So that being said here, that coming into play again with drivers having to give space, Gray said on the radio. Watch him up the road. But they were 3 wide.
I don't know if Oxidine knew that he was 3 wide. I think I'd have to go back and see who was that car above. But I genuinely don't think he knew there was a third car there.
Absolutely, I don't think he's seen him. Wouldn't have gotten the spotter's call at that point either with them just on the fender. That driver on the outside. And that is why we're now under caution. We'll see vast majority of the field take their first set. A couple are already in range to use their second. Here's it again. And Gray was given a little extra space, too, to that car on the outside just in case.
Yeah, I think I was worried about Darius, who had been falling back a little bit on this run, like clipping the outside wall, trying to give him space. And now we see it's everyone. It's a field day down on pit road.
Should see 4 tires and fuel for everybody here. May see some variance for those who have stayed out or taken at least 10, 15 lap runs. But remember, that is a gamble. Will anyone take that gamble this early? We'll see. As Myers wants those in the pit boxes. Indeed, most of the field at 10 to 12 second pit stops all throughout. Nobody, as expected, taking the 2 tires here. Race up pit road, going to get a little bit close. Look at Conklin floor it. Got around Basin to take over second. But was that legal? We'll see if he has to drop.
Yeah, it's so tight coming off the exit. It's going to be hard to tell and see who gets and gives the position. I think they're going to wait and see. Also going to be key. We don't have, pit limiters on these cars, so how many people might get in trouble?
Yeah, definitely no pit limiters in the stock car, obviously. And remember, a part of some of the updates last month, they made it a lot more stricter when it came to the pit limitations, or pit speed, should say, in terms of within 1/10 of a mile an hour can get you a penalty. That being said, here is the 2 buddies are now second and third. But again, Myers still not relinquishing the lead. And we have a couple different drivers here that were able to get great stops. Lateral, Brower, both quick stops at 10+ seconds. A few of the drivers took an extra couple seconds to make sure there was enough gas in the car, obviously. And a few are getting repairs.
Yeah, those guys that pitted earlier for that stint made good use of those tires, and then now get the added benefit of, well, we didn't need to wait on fuel. They're just going to be down a set of tires maybe for the end of the race, which again, depending on how long we go, depending on how many more yellows we get, like that could be a big factor.
So let's find out how some of these teams have adjusted their machines here for this run. Myers, Conklin, Basin, Lateral now. Lateral, should say, top 4. Brower and Maggio. You also have Klein and Nanny, followed by O'Brien and Hodgson inside your top 10. Amongst those that have had to come down a few times was the last car in the lead lap previously. From the wall strikes earlier we've seen. The 9 continuously having to take service to make sure that car's back up to speed, but everyone else will get geared up, take us back under green. Already, if you do the math here, a quarter of the distance through the race, Jonathan.
Quarter of the distance. I think everyone's kind of learned a lot about the track and about the group of cars around them, and taken note of who's aggressive, who's not, who's got a long run car and who doesn't, and what changes you need to make. But you also said, Justin, like this track is going to be changing too. The temperature continues to rise, 115 Fahrenheit, 46 Celsius. So I think this is a good note-taking opportunity for all these drivers now, and a good reset.
Great reset, actually, here in this one for some of the drivers. And that's kind of why, with the 10 seconds compared to 12 seconds, it looks like here, some of those drivers who may take the opportunity to top off or take a different offset on pit strategy gain some big dividends, where the full tire set takes 10 compared to the full tires of fuel. Looks like 12 to 13 still in the box. That being said here, let's see how they fire off this time. Again, for those tuning in here on Racespot and iRacing social media platforms here today, Myers, Conklin, Basin, Lederer, ready to go in the top 4. iRacing pace car to drop off, and will. Taking a quick run up to the restart zone. Green, green, green. We're backing away. Good start immediately for the 17 and the 6 in the battle for second. Conklin wins that battle. Everybody else looking to go to battle 2 by 2, multiple rows deep off 2.
Felt like somewhere middle of the pack didn't get a good restart. We saw like fanning out 3 wide quickly. We're back down to 2 wide. We'll see if any quick gaps for Brower is going to try and take advantage of lateral start, but this is letting the top 3 get away.
This is going to be for some of the drivers important to make sure they find a way to keep up with those 3 regular machines up at the front of the field. Everyone else doing battle. That includes Dressler trying to push along Hodgson to get a gap forward, as Justin T. Campbell also behind them. A couple of the others change to the inside. All while Dressler is the first side-by-side. You see the backdrop. Everyone lining up right now behind the 15 still.
And Dressler's in a weird spot. Like, this is the furthest down the field he has been, so he's got the most dirty air that his car's gotten all day long. So it's going to be handling slightly different than what he expects.
By the way, we have our first DNF of the race. It looks like Wyatt Gray is out of the race after being involved in the previous caution. Gate machine had 2 different incidents tonight, and now an estimated loss will go his way of 105 iRacing for efforts tonight. Meanwhile, everybody else just about single file to start this run on equal footing, although a few drivers you see up in the middle of your screen are trying some bump drafting, like Heinen and a few others. Everybody else needs to figure out the best way to make sure they don't burn the tires up by pushing too hard off these corners.
I think what's also, we're getting a difference in how people are running too, because Dressler has shown he wants to be aggressive, he wants to push it, and someone like Klein, who's pulling to the inside and being defensive on him, may be trying to be conservative.
Yeah, exactly, and we know if you're too conservative and go backwards, it's going to potentially counter the long run efforts. If you're too aggressive on the short run, well, you're going to lose the spots either way. You have to find, I would call it the happy middle ground, if you will, between going too fast and too slow, if you will. The 100 to 50 different ratio in terms of percentage you're pushing.
I know Klein was, I think, giving him the spot a little bit, but I'm impressed Dressler was able to pass on the outside going into 3. That was a great little move.
Yeah, a few moments ago you're talking about, yeah. Still taking a look at second and third with Conklin and Basin, though. Staying lined up together. Myers still holding on to the clean air, but you are quicker than your leader. I think they're both thinking the same thing. Just keep the track position and let the race come to them together here. They are NASCAR teammates for a reason.
It's super useful for both of them being teammates, because then like they can work together and get away from the pack behind. Because clearly some of these guys are on different agendas. Some are trying to save, some are trying to go.
Yeah, you see teammates still trying to go after it. That's Nanny. He's been dragging paint against the 16 for a past lap or two. Has been to get around Maggio. Now does. It was getting physical. Now they're able to steady on out here. So Nanny slowly trying to pick up some spots because he's kind of been running the same spot this entire race so far.
And he's probably a little frustrated too, seeing someone like Brower or Lateral who started towards the rear of the field, now in the top 5, and he's like, wait a minute, why? I've been up here this whole time. Why can't I go chase down the top 3?
Easier said than done with the way things are working, with everyone in the aero draft. Straight away. It's also pivotal if you want to be able to pick up straight line speed a little bit at least. Get it here in the pole. Hodgson right now behind has Klein and Campbell. No one really willing to take a step aside in this. A little bit of scraping there. 12 amongst those that may have scraped the wall. Coming off the corner as they all work their way down the back. Now, as they watch, just see what happens in front of them. You see that little move up there. Dressler wasn't able to take the boat. Facing the final at this end of the track.
Yeah, but even just that little look and making something get offline can cost them a couple tenths here or there. You can see like Hodgson pulling up a little bit closer to Dressler, but not much. Like again, Dressler has shown that he wants to go. He wants to be racing. And I think some of these other guys around him are like, well, wait, let's be conservative. Let's save some tires here.
Let's think big picture. Exactly is what you're talking about as we touched upon. And obviously, if you want a chance to win, you have to have the front position. Part of that is making sure your car gets to the front and stays up there all throughout the night tonight. Here's a look at Braden Donaldson. He's one of the drivers that's on the move we touched upon. Part of the EPI camp up 22 positions. He so far has been picking the spots pretty smartly here tonight.
It also has to go to setup, like you probably set up your car to run more in these dirty air conditions and pick off places. And then, like I think the downside may be if you get to clean air, you just may not have that pace, or running by yourself, you may not have the pace.
I think he's just biding his time, if you will. Has experience with a couple different groups, mind you, over his racing career. Still, though, as they all go about, Basin still pushing along. You see the interval is already up to almost a full second. Just like that, between third and fourth, Lateral is losing ground. Right now, last time by was 2/10 off the pace of the top 3. The average is 1/10 off the pace of what the machines up front are doing in the fourth.
I think Lateral and Brower, like this is probably the best learning you're going to get of how you're going to chase down the Fords, of where your car is not going to be strong, because they've spent that entire long stretch of that last run, you know, picking people off and passing people in the draft. Well, now you're in free space. Now you have to try and figure out where to find these 10s to go chase down the leaders.
Yeah, and that might require a bit of strategic maneuvering again to take away the clean air of someone like Myers or anyone in this front group has got this beginning, basically. Because clean air is king with this car these days, and it's been a big talking point about this track. Hey, just don't tell Ray Alfalo that if you follow social media with him. He's been pumped amongst those with the NASCAR experience, the multi-time champion coming into this week about this week's races, virtually in reality.
There's a give and take, I think, with the setup. We're getting close action. We're getting a lot of groups close together and making moves. It's just difficult to make moves. Like in some cases, you need tire fall off, you need adjustments. You know, the dirty air is a problem, but we can't change anything about the air. We can't race in a vacuum, unfortunately.
Yeah, it's the way the cars work these days, and it is reality, and that's one of the things iRacing's been able to replicate more and more these days. Like the rear-wheel drivers have to navigate, and that causes you to have to think. For example, trying to offset with one of the headlights poking out, especially the left one, to try and make sure you're not bumper to bumper, because if you line up straight on bumper to bumper. You're feeding yourself dirty air and get yourself tight.
And even just, again, positioning in the field, because like the further down you go, the more and more dirty air you're getting from the cars in front of you, as opposed to, say, this spread out bunch we have 1 through 5. Looking at the bottom of the screen, I mean, this is the battle around the battle for the 20th, and we're nearly nose to tail Talladega style.
Yeah, this has turned into, for some of the drivers, the thought process of where are they going to strategize to get some of these positions. It has gone into a bit of a calming period. You see some drops in the heart of the field on your bottom screen they've been able to do here. Some of those that you're seeing in this group just riding by to the top, like Jenkins we talked about. Take a look still over to them. Now Darius right now, the Spaniard, back to 23rd. I don't think that's where you expect second in the points to be in overall point standings for 25.
I think, like, he's just been struggling, like, the longer these runs go on, but I feel like there's a few of those drivers out there that may just feel like they have the setup wrong, that the heat of the track may be wearing these tires out a little bit more, and that they're just struggling to keep up with the track. I think that's a common theme I'm seeing with a lot of these guys that have dropped, because he's not the only one that's lost a bunch of positions. Like Tanner Love, who was started in the higher teens, has lost a few positions. Lawrence Chenoweth was up there in the top 10. You saw him struggling at the end of the run. I think it's definitely a setup mindset that they went in here thinking, like, this is how it's going to set up. We can make this 10 laps, then I'm going to struggle a little bit. And I think a lot of these other guys have just adjusted well enough to keep the tires alive.
On the bright side, if you are a fan of the American flag, that's still in your top 12. A lot of those with the international flags. They're still trying to find track position here in this one in terms of their iRacing regions that they've set. Really speaking, though, this is a type of racing when it comes to the oval side that can, especially for the 10 a.m. slot, which you can definitely race when it comes to the open set of Brickyard 400, is very popular too with those in the European side, which is considered one of their SOF opportunities to race in the open side. So if you're enjoying the action so far tonight and want to try your hand at the Brickyard 400, whether it's open setup on Sunday around 10 a.m. Eastern time, give or take, or during the afternoon or the early morning for the big series, Saturday or Sunday, be sure to sign up, get your opportunity to race these cars around the big track here at Indianapolis Motor Speedway. Take a look at Nick Olson. He's gotten some opportunities doing PR with people in the NASCAR scene and the stock car racing scene over the years. Still working with his team, now in the top 15, running 14.4.
He's also looking for opportunities to make a move here. You can see Matthew Bryan is, I think, the first car in this train, and I think he started to struggle for pace. So Donaldson has now caught him, and they're both trying to figure out, like, where do we start to make the move? Because now we're at that point, 15 laps in to a stint where tires are going to start to suffer.
Yeah, this is where we've already seen the fall now go to 8/10 or so, depending on who you are in the field. Some drivers more so 6, but also at some lower, faster personal bests compared to earlier. Right now in front of some of the drivers in this group is still Matthew J. O'Brien, who's been with a couple different groups over his time. He's one of those with one of the higher I ratings in the field, just a touch under 7,000, 6,912. And you can hear with the cars we haven't touched upon yet, you do have to shift here if you want to be fast with the setups here at the Brickyard.
And you have to use the shift kind of strategically in your line too. You have to use the engine braking when you shift down from 5th to 4th to help straighten your car out in order to get that optimal lap time. So it's a tricky shift. It's not like I'm just going down a gear or whatever. You have to use it in a weird way with the car, and I think that's also what's made it a little difficult for some of these drivers going into this week.
Yes, I know at the very least, some of these drivers like Matt were very concerned with the runs earlier. You see them still in the side-by-side. Maggie McGuire Mineshoe's just been surviving back in the groove. Right now, Alonso's in the backpack. Picked up, or lost the spot, I should say, this past lap. Menke, another one that's ran a fair bit. And yes, that is a Camry that is on that machine. Pink.
We're starting to see other drivers struggle. I said O'Brien was struggling. I think Campbell's struggling a bit more because around the outside went the 6 machine, and now there's going to be 4 hungry cars that realize the 5 may be a little bit slower than everyone else.
Some of the drivers trying to use the Dragon, as some would say, in IndyCar radio network for the IndyCar side, down the straightaways, but everyone else been keeping pretty straight, not been afraid to try and break up traffic. You see a couple in this group searching for clean air. Campbell nearly dragged into the wall, though. Donaldson, I think, had to lift also in this path.
Front is shoving and the back end just won't grip to the track. I think that's an issue everyone is now starting to feel as you see another move way up the track is Olsen.
Yeah, a couple drivers taking some moments there in their respective battles on the track. Charles Wembley also isn't part of those in the battles. You see the back of the group in the very top right for a moment. But everyone else trying to find a way to set themselves up halfway or so through the fuel run, give or take right here. Look at the slide of the tires. Campbell's rears seem to be going away. He's having a hard time getting to the stick.
And this is how Donaldson's been making up these spots, because it seems like his car is a lot more stable out of the exit at 2, and that seems to be the real tripping point for a lot of these guys.
This is getting a little bit more difficult to go here for Justin Campbell. That is a name I believe we've seen pop over the years on the platform. Has raced a fair bit, has also showcased a few tutorials in his time. Also one of those, of course, that got opportunities in the NASCAR International Series years ago. It's one of those that actually was running as one of the invites for that series when sim racing was big in that way for the international scene. Campbell, one of the rear-wheel drivers in the field tonight that has had experiences being a part of those in NASCAR Drive for Diversity. And he's in the wall again.
Show you how good that 32 car is handling compared to everyone else. Like, he was able to pretty easily get alongside Campbell on the outside. And now I think if we look further back, now we have another hornet's nest kind of forming as more drivers are starting to struggle for grip, not able to hold the optimal bottom line. It's just pushing ever closer to the wall.
Now, for those that are watching alone and wondering, what is this? We are almost halfway through the iRacing Brickyard 400 SOF night for the open version of the Brickyard 400 here tonight from Indianapolis Motor Speedway on iRacing. Here on, brought to you by Racespot and iRacing social media platforms for the broadcast, where you're seeing that tonight. As you can see, big for the sponsor in the rear world race, big on your pylon as well in the bottom right corner. You're a part of the eNASCAR iRacing series as these drivers compete in what we call NIS on the iRacing platform for those who haven't tuned in before. It's points leader for its overall championship. Sean Conklin running second, right behind his teammate Finnegan Myers, who's led the entire way so far. Nobody's been able to get within 5 car lengths of the 10 tonight.
There hasn't been a lot of fall off in his pace either that Conklin and Basson have been able to take advantage of, even working together down the straightaway. And again, it just shows you that clean air is king, and Myers qualified towards the top of the field for a reason.
Now this has turned into one of those situations where, for someone that signed back in 2025, Myers having an opportunity for a big chance to get a victory for his team here, but it's still early. The rest of his teammates still trying to keep up, Basin a little tight there, but you have to think, again, there's a lot of race to go. There's a lot of strategy at play. And remember, a lot of these teams, if we continue this run, are in range for their first green flag stops of the day in, give or take, 20 laps.
And if we stay green for another 20 laps, I think I want to pay attention to that 15 car behind, because he's kept up really nicely, actually, with these top three after they kind of pulled away from him earlier. Like the 15 of Latterall and Brower, they both may have good long-run cars, and you can see Nanny in between them as well. This is a good time to show that long-run pace.
The thing is to keep in mind, though, in the case of that 15, in the case of a couple of the others here in this field, Jonathan, though, is you're talking about them also being down an extra set. Does that concern you for later on in the race if it comes down to caution, precaution?
Absolutely, but I think it would also have to depend on how many others take those opportunities. Because track position's king, you're not going to make up 10 spots in a lap unless like craziness happens in front of you. So I think if we stay racing like this, when we get some of these longer green flag runs, I don't think it's going to be a problem. But when we get into that yellow breed yellow again, if that happens, it might be tough towards the end of the race. Again, we still got 96 laps to go, and hopefully everyone's fingers crossed we stay green for a good portion of it.
If we get a commentator's curse, you know where to find it. Look at your timestamps at approximately 10:22 p.m. Eastern time, everybody. I'm joking.
I'm Central Time. If you need that, that's 9:22 as well. And I will knock on wood. I have a wood desk in front of me.
That being said, pit stops already coming up for some of the drivers. Brad Newman just ended down pit road. 14, only 25 laps in, came in.
Now, this could be to offset to try and get yourself out of the group. But I don't think like the pace by yourself in clean air is necessarily beneficial. It's also so long of a pit road, he might just end up where the leaders are, which could be equally as much of a problem.
And for those curious on how big the impact is for some of the drivers in the draft, we're talking some drivers 2 to 3 tenths slower than the back of those in the draft pack at the moment. Hearing a lot of things popping up on the radio as things get tight for some. Lateral watching behind and not able to chip away. There goes Newman. Here's the thing about this track, it's so big, there's a chance you either fall a lap down or stay on the lead lap here in this one. Right now, in the case of Newman, he was far enough from the leaders that he will lose a lap, but a lot of these leaders, when they take a service with especially the new pit stop times, are still going to have a chance to stay on the lead lap by a few seconds.
I was going to say, he was 24th, I think, when he came in. So at this pace, probably Tanner Love, Carson Jenkins, James Bomar, Lars Chenworth, if you're thinking about pulling that trigger early, now may be the time. Because you will stay on the lead lap, but then I don't know if this is going to force everyone else down pit road too. You could, they call it the danger zone in IndyCar, where it's like if a caution comes out, those that pitted earlier are going to cycle back to the front.
See some really aggressive battling, by the way, in that bottom part of your screen. They've been battling for a bit here. They were 3 wide for a moment, I noticed. That is Bomar scraping paint with Chenoweth again. That EPI machine has been really wanting to get by here for 19th, and now in the wall is the 21. Down the track, meanwhile, goes Keegan Sabayo, who goes down the circuit at 17.
Turn 2 has just been everyone's kryptonite, and I think also that pit stop from Newman is him throwing in the towel of being like, I can't drive this car anymore, it's too tight. Wondering if there's going to be other drivers that join him. Chenoweth is doing a good job hanging on.
I don't know how long this is going to last. Bomar again has been not afraid to train paint here. Another one of those long-time sim racers on the platform. Our squeeze. Still not breaking even to get around. Still equal off the 2, coming up to 1 into 2.
I want to know what's going through Jenkins' head as he's watching this ahead of him. Like, he's seen him trade paint twice, 3 or 4 times now, and he's like, can you two just make up your mind? Who wants to be in front of this group?
Something's going to have to give, and I don't know if I like the way this is looking. Up the track goes the 4 again. Again, near contact. Again, survival between these 2 through 4. Jenkins just wanting to get around as up in front of them, Kursanov comes down pit road, and now they single file, and there's that snake we talked about.
That was a good effort from Chenoweth to hold that spot, because there was no quarter given between either of them. This is a replay of Sibilio coming off the corner. It just gets a little, actually a little loose almost. That's a little different than everyone else.
Did we mention that car just about did it again in front of the field? He's one of the teammates to Justin Levine, who's top 5 of the points coming into the 9, and everybody catches him. 20 under attack by the 21. Let's do this again, shall we? We're racing for 17th, by the way, right now.
Yeah, this was that group that I said if they wanted to pull the trigger early, could come down in front of the leaders and stay in the lead lap. I don't think that's going to happen anymore. Because last time...
Yeah, Darius just came down from it to get out of this. As look at Bomar nearly drive by.
Give a big shot to the 20 to keep him ahead, and the 21's loose. Like, this is where you grit your teeth. That is a risky move to the inside, and they stay off of each other. I mean, this is fun and entertaining. I'm sure they're all sweating, trying to avoid taking each other out.
Yeah, look at the squeeze again. Jenkins trying to push that 21 up the track. Contact to contact yet again. Oh, well, look at Lim. He's been recovering from multiple minutes of repairs. Has joined him too. They see from the bumper. This is from Wembley. Still hard fighting. The 21 has been fighting everybody hard today.
You see the 9 of Lim poke out, the future Michigan NASCAR driver is thinking about a 3-wide move, try and gain some spots back after that earlier spin.
Oh, bit of contact again. And you can see Lim is almost just about in a bad spot with this as Jenkins loses the ground. The help just came to the outside. That's why the 21 just got the run. And now Jenkins has to battle the EPI car. Meanwhile, Wembley, you see up the road, also made a pass on the 20 as everybody fighting hard. This is some of the more intense battling in the field. A lot of the drivers are single file, but back here they're so equal. It's been aggressive.
I mean, like, that 21 has been squeezed so much in just these past few laps. Like, he's done a very good job keeping it clean. And Sibilio is just wicked loose. That 20 has lost a lot of grip, and he's struggling right now for time.
Right now, all these drivers continuing to just see where things steady out. I think it's calming down a little bit. Jenkins into the door nearly of Sibilio back there, but Wembley talked about that experience earlier. Now he and Bomar are off to the races. 53 flat for Bomar, 53.3 for Wembley last time. Those drivers battling back there have been having a lot of time loss. We're talking 3-4 tenths. May have to check with the leader soon because Finnegan Myers did get held up by a lap car. That's why your interval off screen went down to under 4 tenths for him.
Oh, these are the early takers that have come out in front of our leader, and the 2 teammates have now kind of closed in. I looked up and saw it went down from a second. He lost 6 tenths last time by to the 2 behind him.
Yeah, on the radio, they were having a bit of a disagreement over how Newman was trying to get around. They were side by side for about half a lap even. But either way, the 10 has still continued to keep control and is already growing the gap again.
I think this is almost helpful for Myers to let Newman go on lap himself, and now you have someone to draft with down the straightaway that's a little bit faster than you. So you don't have to be too concerned about dirty air.
We'll have to burn up his tires though, in my theory, though, too. A little bit at least. It's not going to be too long, though, at least. Newman's already almost broken the draft.
But now that this put worries in Meyer's head, or even Conklin and Basin, knowing that other guys in the back of the field that are battling each other, going to the wars in the trenches, are thinking about pitting and thinking about, you know, they're going to come out in this lead group and they're going to be faster. Do you want to pit early and try and get away from that? Do you want to, like, push it to the end? Like, this is now a big decision, I think, for these guys.
Yeah, we're already about 35 laps in the run, including pace laps, so about 33-ish under green conditions. And here's the thing about the way things are going. If you think, is there going to be any more traffic? Outside Mozgonov, the answer could be pretty difficult to get because only 4/10 difference between the leaders and the back of the field on average pace per lap right now. It will take a long while to get to those even in the back of the 30s, if not the 20s, for future reference here, unless there's major mistakes down pit road.
I'm just kind of waiting to see which of those guys towards the rear tries to pull the trigger and go early. And I think Newman was kind of hoping maybe for that, maybe to force other drivers down, but I don't think it got the response he wanted. And everyone else seems to be sticking it out to the very end.
At this point, somebody is going to pull the pin. And there's near trouble, and there is trouble. Turn 3, Mozgonov spun it right in front of the leaders, right as the pit window was about to open for everybody else.
That could have been disastrous for the leaders.
Yeah, that was lucky for the leaders, let's put it that way. Mozgonov went around on his own, believe. He was the last car on the lead lap outside of Newman before the caution flag.
Say, he had earlier issues and had damage, so was already off the pace, and he's been given the meatball flag, so he's hit something with that spin.
Do you think he may have blown a tire? Because that can also give you a meatball flag, remember, too. And the thing is, he's got no damage on that 11 off the screen right now.
I mean, it may have been earlier damage, because I don't know how much he's been able to repair from that earlier spin he had with the 9 of limb. Because remember, those two tangled earlier on. So maybe it's just tires, we'll see.
Drives in, you can see it starts going, gone. Had to have blown a tire there with the slide, probably.
How low of grip do you think that he had at the end of that run? Because we were about to start the green flag stops.
Yeah. And for those wondering, wouldn't that help him? No, it doesn't, because he got a lap down, and obviously you can't get the lucky dog with the spin. Kurtsanov will get the lucky dog instead. And pit stop time for everybody else. There was no chance for anyone to offset with the fuel strats this cycle. Let's find out if anyone plays around with that. Maybe, though. Let's see.
What's going to be interesting is you're going to see a car go by. That's Newman, who just unlapped himself. He's going to become the leader on about 15 lap.
Wow, that might actually be a big play here for Newman. That is a huge lucky play. He got the lead lap back when he did. Hearing some issues on the radio. Basin had issues in the pit lane. He loses a ton of spots. All of a sudden, it's a new leader. Latterell just came out ahead of everybody. Myers lost time. Conklin, everybody in the Ryko camp. I think Dylan Basin may have missed his pit stall. Same for Conklin. They both, the eNASCAR drivers here that have seats in the series this season, made mistakes on that concrete in the pit boxes. Remember, the concrete can cause you to slide compared to the pavement.
And even just misjudging the braking, especially look at how old these tires are, because remember that earlier stop we had under caution, we had a lot more caution laps beforehand. So it's also about that wear and where you're picking that stopping point. So just a little bit of a slide can make a big difference.
That being said here, at least one wave around here who had a pit stop. That would be the 25 of Darius. But Brad Newman, this could get interesting for the Pneumo Lab machine. Highest up by far they've been all night. How is this going to go out for him? Because he has been one of those not in the conversation here, Jonathan, but will definitely be in it with so many different others now getting the chance to battle for clean air coming up.
I think this restart is going to be really interesting because, again, like I said, he's going to have older tires. It's going to be 12 laps of green flag running in clean air on him compared to those around him. But we also have different players around him. Yeah, Nanny and Lateral are going to be the two guys behind him and Conklin. Like Myers with that little bit further down the order now. It's going to be really interesting to see. I'm a little worried about him spinning the tires on that initial restart.
Megan McGuire amongst those who came down. Justin Malillo continuing to have a very quiet night as he keeps it in fifth gear, I think, coming out of the pit stall. That's why I think he may be partly rolling so slow. But on the bright side, if you're a part of this field and you haven't already, I guess you could get raced an iRacing staffer badge tonight.
Well, I feel like if he'll be up front, I think we can accuse him of cheating, though, right? Is that how that works?
I don't think that's how that works, no.
Ah, man!
I mean, Malillo's good in the league races. He's obviously been amongst those looking for something to get to the front, but let's take the conversation, though, to the front here. Newman, Lateral, Nanny, Conklin, Brower, and Myers, now your top six. Hodgson, Dressler, Monchio, with Donaldson in the top 10. Kirsanov was your lucky dog, will now restart 26. Time to put the gloves back on, it looks like.
Yeah, Bassett on this restart is going to be key to watch because, again, that little mistake has cost him so many spots. He's down. He's going to be 8th row on your outside, down in 16th.
Yep, let's see this as Lars at least knows that they're on camera. I think there's a cat in the background. All set to go. This will take us to the halfway next time by. Coming to start lap 80. Enjoying the action so far tonight. Newman off and away. Lateral got a good fire off. Now the 14 and 15 duking up for the race lead. Good battle for third. They're bumping and painting. Newman clears. Lateral looking for the crossover to take the inside. Here it comes the 15. Incident brings us under yellow. We're back to caution as amongst those involved is Dressler.
A big pile up because we had guys going every which way.
The 17, Dressler, had contact with, oh no, the 10 of Myers. Remember, these two under the same setup tent at least tonight. Oh, there was actually contact from the inside. That may have been Hodgson. Yes, it was.
Did Myers get a clear there and think he was clear of Hodgson? That's the only thing I can think of because it looked like he was coming down the racetrack and Hodgson was still there.
I almost feel like they were all just about on the fenders. This would be a good one to look at above because I think all three may have glued fender to fender there.
And that was the car that led, I think, the majority of the way.
Every lap. Well, that's not going to be any more the case as a result of the incident. I think everyone's going to look at that again. You're fighting hard. You're squeezing hard. Sometimes you pinch your pay as part of the process, and sometimes you pinch too much. You have a caution flag like that.
I was going to say before we head back to green, like I ran out of time for it. I was going to say that's the first time the 10's going to be back in any traffic. His car may handle different, and we didn't even get to see that, really. We got through one corner before that'll happen. Donaldson, I think, may have damage. There may be a lot of guys coming back that picked up a little bit of damage through this, because that happened in front of so many people.
Yeah, at this point, a couple of the drivers are going to have to think about the front nose, the 10 especially. Donaldson did get some scrapes to the left front, can tell. Here's a look again at the slide, and look at Donaldson. There's where he gets a bit of the contact there with the left front. It was able to avoid any major damage after that, but it's still going to be at least this caution or the next to fix it or check on it at least.
Look at the rest of the job, like that field in the upper part went. Like Chenoweth ducking to the inside. Look how close the 4 gets. That's like paper between those two. Like this could have been half the field, and I think it's only 5 or 6 cars. Like everyone did an amazing job trying to avoid it.
We're past halfway, by the way, for the Brickyard 400 for those just tuning in for today's coverage here on iRacing social media platforms and Racespot. We hope you're enjoying the action so far. For those jumping in, the drivers involved were amongst some of your contenders up at the front, up into the previous caution, where people missed their pit stalls, including Myers and both the NASCAR pros that currently have their black licenses in Basin and Conklin. Brad Newman, who pit prior to that point, got his lead lap back 2 laps with the caution. Could be under attack pretty quickly here, though. The 15 was ready to cross them up. I'm not going to be surprised if we see that again for Latterell to get to the inside, then set it up the dive underneath turn 2.
Yeah, I think he had a good playbook there of how to get around the 14. I think the 14 played that restart as best as he could given the circumstances. And we're going to get racked up again, and he's going to learn. He's going to have that in the back of his mind too. That, all right, Latterell is going to cross me up here. How can I adjust myself? How can I try and counteract that and maintain this position? You know, Newman doesn't probably want to be in the lead the whole time. Whatever spots he can gain out of this, I think if he falls back to 10th, I think it's still a win, given that he was running 24th prior to him pitting early.
This is going to bring us into a situation back to the restart pretty soon. Newman. Sure hope he's amongst those in the streaming camp. Apparently he's one of those that has experience with that. See a couple of the drivers like Dressler still taking service. But the Australian is up at the front of the field here. And while he runs a lot in a variety of different series, tonight looking to see if he keeps himself out of trouble here and keeps himself as high as he can here for track position. Who else you're watching for this upcoming restart? As there's a whole lot of Ryko and EPI, I will say, up though. If you look at those up the front here, there's all but a couple that are up here.
I think Conklin's going to be a very interesting one to look at. He's rolling off P4. If Latterell gets a good restart, I think Conklin's going with him. And you know, the 2 of Basin, you know, had that mistake, somehow survived all that chaos, is still in 14. So I think we're looking him to make some moves.
In our news, Justin Malone, I think, just cut the entire short shoot in 1 and 2 to get on the racetrack so he can catch the field. Again, came down pit road to work on the car. We're all set to go for the restart. 77 to go. We fire back off almost 2 hours into the action tonight. Pace car is off as we make the long way up to those cones for the restart zone. Green to green. Good start for the 15, but look at Nanny. He got a good one also. That takes away the chance for the inside to come up right here. Good start this time for the outside to boost by for the 15th, though, to potentially clear. Everybody else staying 2 by 2. Nobody getting a chance to get a run yet. Newman playing the lanes as they battle aggressively behind. Look at the lines.
This is perfect for Newman because now those two are side by side going into 3. He's going to have a chance to get a little bit of clean air, get a little bit of a gap.
A few drivers scraping the wall back there on the edge of the top 10, but I think most of the field at least got to the bottom here. Daniel Nanny, one of the longtime drivers in the Reiko tent, now up in second, looking to close out for the race lead here. A few drivers up in the teens, still trying to make some moves, including Hyman and Basin, who fell all the way down around 15th or so prior to the last caution flag. Everybody else staying in a rhythm, you see up in the front.
Now we're going to see the difference of pace. This is back at the hornet's nest that is formed again towards the rear of the field. You can see everyone else single file. This is the best case scenario, I think, for you. So everyone's kind of single filed out, and now he's going to lose spots one at a time. But again, the farthest he might fall down before he has to pit again, maybe 10.
Now look at how tight some of the battle is going on back there as they all rumble through. That was flying nearly getting turned. Few drivers blocking to the inside wall. Oh my goodness, Justin T. Campbell. He's trying to hold back Donaldson pretty aggressively there.
Normally the aggression level tends to get turned up like towards the front of the field, but I assure you in this field right now, the rear of the field is where the real feisty guys are fighting.
Yeah, a lot of those guys back there do not want to lose a spot at all. Finnegan Myers is also back there. Also some of the names, Mozgonov, Range, a few others that have been bounced around. Personoff, the lucky dog you see, come caution to go on the outside. A lot of the names have had chances of the cups of tea up in the front, or at least a big giant jar of coffee that they like to get back in front of them.
I think the good news for Donaldson is that his car was pretty good on the longer run, so he should be able to get through some of these other guys. But for guys like Finnegan Myers, he's in the middle of this. Thomas Dari started at both the teens, has kind of struggled getting the handling of this thing so far tonight. You know what? Like, how can they really improve and move through the field?
Spaniard has gone from up in the mid-pack to the 30s. I think second in the points may take a shuffle here after a run like this tonight to the 25. Keep an eye on that, definitely after tonight's racing to see where this machine stacks up. That in mind, race lead, contact. Nanny just about to the bumper, now going for it. Nanners wants the point. From Ball State University, look at lateral, 3 wide, contact to the inside as Nanny takes over the race lead at the stripe. Lateral trying to go for it, couldn't.
Newman had a big block down the back straightaway. It's like we're running Indy cars here. And now Lateral, I think they both shown that they are going to be really aggressive and really want to get by this 14. I think it's only a matter of time. Like, look at this.
Caution flag is out. You see the block there. The caution, it appears, is going to be for one of the EPI machines. That is James Bomar, who's brought us under yellow in the 4. He got some help, though. Lim was right behind. He was battling Hyman out of turn 2.
This 4 machine has been in a couple tight battles, to say the least, so far tonight. So probably just ran out a little bit of room here. We're going to see when we get the replay. Here it is.
A lot of conversation on the radio wondering what happened here. A little bit of column A, a lot of bit of column B. And if you're the team manager, you have to make sure at least they're communicating together here, at least in the Discords. These two run in the same grouping of drivers house-wise, believe. And that's going to put them under the caution flag again, coming to 71 laps to go.
It's actually a really good effort by Bomar, following the spin to catch it and not really slam the inside wall. So we shouldn't have too much damage on that car, and I'm wondering as well for the 9, who's already been through the wars, how much damage he has in the front end.
So here comes a question. We know Newman is offset up towards of 13 laps on strategy, it looks like. Still has track position. You have to think he may come down. Does anyone else take service here, you think?
I think it's a little early in the run because we're thinking like max is about 40 laps on fuel. We're about 70 to go, so you can make it on one more stop from here if that's the mindset that you're thinking, and I think that's a couple people's mindset.
Leaders in. Nanny came down from the lead, brought Basin, Chenoweth, Burin, Kirsanov, Campbell, Bomar, and a lot of people at the back with him. So Lateral is now up to the race lead for the first time. Newman did not pit, so he's hoping to stay out, keep track position a little longer.
That's a little, I mean, because he's got to be hoping for another caution because he's only got about 16, maybe 18 laps left of green flag racing before he eats back down. And this is going to be really interesting. It's about a 50-50 split. Now, some of these guys are also damaged from earlier.
And believe we may have had one person park their race car to go to the bathroom, people are saying on the radio. The 13. I believe is stopped on the racetrack that was Jacob Brower. Yes, confirmed, was stopped on the outside of the wall. That's why he's fallen down your pylon. But I believe might get the spots back. So as they get that sorted out here, the question's going to be here, who else is going to jump in? Mario Miranda. I think you can argue in the 7 car has a great chance. Super Mario is up 24.
And he had, I believe he had was part of that first spin, the initial caution at the beginning of the race. He got a little bit of contact there. So this has been a solid bounce back. I think the biggest concern I have is going to be that point of the field where these tires and no tires converge. So where Finnegan Myers, who was our leader for the longest time, currently is going to have Nanny, Basin, Chenoweth all on fresh rubber.
You know, the funny thing as you see Brower get his spots back once again is you talk about Mario Miranda, one of those if there's needs to can get a spot in the NASCAR Cup iRacing Series through the regular season, or through the season should say, with the purple license. He originally got the spotlight during the NASCAR College iRacing Series in that 7 machine that's starting on the outside of row 3. Funnily enough, turns out he was still in high school technically when he did that, Jonathan, because the rule was, at the time, he needed 12 hours of classes essentially enrolled. And he originally had got an OU email. Essentially, he registered for the series with his high school email address, but he had been taking classes college-wise at the time. So eventually that led to the pipeline of him becoming one of its most well-known drivers, but also eventually becoming one of the dev leads for Sooner Esports.
There's a couple of the collegiate eNASCAR guys in this field, and it's good to see like them, getting these opportunities not only like in their sim teams and elsewhere in the sims, but just getting the opportunities from some of these colleges that are now investing a little bit more in esports, that are thinking like, oh, this is actually a real opportunity for us.
And with the college series, if you do well enough, get scholarship funds to help up your schooling. That's a big part of things we've seen over the past few years. Dating almost 5+ years actually for that side. And a few different drivers from the college series as a result have gone into the free agency pool for the Coke series with the rules past year. And are some of the best drivers as a whole. And the official, there's a lot of top talent that we've seen come through the ranks for that reason in multiple different pipelines to compete in NASCAR. But in terms of this run in NIS competition, part of your special event calendar for the Brickyard 400, we're coming up to 69 laps to go. It's Lateral and Newman, followed by Conklin and Brower, Maggio and Medina. Miranda should say, up at the top 6. Green, 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 we're backing away. Oh my goodness, tire spin. 7 with a massive save. Miranda somehow doesn't pile up the field.
That was my worry with the 14 on the outside like that, is he has the older tires. He might not be able to put the power down. And sure enough, that has caused a huge jumble up in the mid-pack.
And Olsen trying to paint. Meanwhile, it's 3 wide. Get around Newman. Newman stayed on the outside. Macchio and Conklin underneath. They both commit to it. No, they let Newman take the corner. Looks like Newman actually able to stick it pretty well on the side-by-side. Meanwhile, some of the others battling. Hodgson and Klein near contact behind them. They all rumble behind that blue 14. Here comes the run for Conklin. He looks to set up the attack maybe soon.
The biggest worry I have is watching that 15 get smaller ahead of him. Like, this is a perfect situation for lateral.
Conklin got a much better run. There's the attack, there's the run, there's the pull. Sean Conklin jumping up in the second, but look, some of the others behind staying in the draft. Conklin hit a brick wall for a moment on the run, but gets the corner speed with the tire difference. The jump up. That being said, seen some of the others try to keep into the range. Hansen looking for a place to go next, right behind the EPI cars in front of him.
Ferraro and Maggio both also got massive gains, I think, going into 4 on the 14. I think they're going to take they're going to look at what Conklin did and get him down the back straightaway. I think is going to be the best move for both of them.
Kind of the best move for some of the drivers to figure out the clean air they can get to. 13's in the wall. Brower knocked the wall down in front of Hodgson. Hold on to it. Meanwhile, Justin Campbell. This is the 20s yet again. They're racing hard back here, but not a lot of give and take here.
And this is that weird crossover point with some of the field where some of these guys are on fresh tires, some of them are not. You know, Campbell and Bomar, who we're on board with, are, but car in front of them, Ricky Heinen, restarted 10th, is not. He's on old rubber.
Ted Lowendick. No, he was specifically asking. Oh, he's going to have to dodge a wreck. Caution is out in front. Spilo as well as Myers, and a hard slam. Oxidine slams in the backdrop. We're under caution as you see Ted Lowendick will slow down and just avoided that.
I think Myers has got to be really frustrated now. As soon as he lost the lead, gets caught up in an incident, and now it's the second one of the day. Might be done for the day because that was a heavy hit into the turn 1 wall.
Yeah, the 10's got to be toast possibly from that one. Was battling with Charles Wimbley at the time, believe. At this point, might be one of those concerned about the incident limits too. Let's see. This is the 22. Contacts up the road. I think some of the drivers involved would be okay until here comes Chad.
That started early on. Like, you saw the smoke going into the corner. I'm wondering if you see the 20 there of Sibilio. I'm wondering if he tried to make a move on Myers or the other way around. Because that didn't seem like mid-corner.
I think it was the 10 saying that made the move, at least from what I've seen with some of the tape. So it really depends, though, on the perspective, because sometimes you might have drivers trying to make a pass while another person's making a pass on you. I almost wonder if that was a cascade of it. Watch this right here. That was already squeezing with Nanny. Wow.
I think Myers on his, I think all 3 of these guys on the screen that you see are just innocent victims. I don't know if there was much Myers could do there. Snanny and Wimbley got into each other like that.
64 to go this time. Who comes in on the pit rotation? Conklin's choosing both. Unfortunately, if you choose both, you likely hit the wall, and that's why so many people are going to the right to avoid that cone. First in is Hodgson this time. Nanny comes in again. Wembley and a few others, like Lowendick. So I think a couple of these drivers are remembering what happened, remember previously, when he had about a 15-20 lap run, and saying, why not do this now? Take an extra set here. If we get a caution where the others have to take a run in about 20 laps, they probably gain a ton of spots by an extra 2 to 3 seconds of the pit lane. Saved.
I think Danny and Wembley are also worried about damage because I don't know how close that 3-car was to any contact. But you're right. I think like some of these guys that have been kind of in the midfield through the wars, this is a good opportunity. I'm a little surprised Newman didn't pit. That's still a head scratcher for me.
That was close for Klein, by the way. Amongst those, you have to avoid the cone. Remember, if you hit that cone, that's probably going to be a penalty for you. You want to avoid touching the yellow cone because cones are our friends. Don't you know this is iRacing? That's sarcasm, by the way, before anyone jumps and clips that. But as I was saying here, a lot of the drivers at least know track positions can and do not want to be one of those, like we've seen, like a Basin, still be in the pack 40 laps later, 20, 30, 40 laps later after a strategy situation. Or pit mistake, rather.
It's a wonder also how much that others checking up have to do with the positioning on track. Because I don't think he's come back down pit road recently, so he's gonna be he's kind of the head of his group. Because there's like 3 groups now. There's that group that has stayed out the past 20 laps, along with Newman. There's this mid group that came down of the prior caution, and now we have a new group that came down this caution.
Coming at 63 to go this time by. Here's a reset of your top 10 for those just jumping in. Latterell, Conklin, Newman still will have to pit pretty soon. Next caution, probably see him in. Brower, Maggio, followed by Klein, Miranda, Olsen, Lim, O'Brien are amongst those inside the top 10 this time. By the way, the 28 car, who's been in 2 incidents today, is up around 12th, 13th position. Plus 10 now, has picked up a lot of spots lately.
Yeah, but that's going to be that danger zone again where the strategies cross over because they're at the tail end of this lead group who stayed out for so long. And Basin and Chenoweth and Campbell are on fresher rubber.
Yeah, going to be an interesting one for Junior in particular. That being said here, everyone else hoping to get a clean run for the next little bit to see where the strategy plays out. Freshest of the freshest will restart 26th in terms of your Goodyear Eagles on the machines here today.
If I'm Maggio behind Newman, I'm going to keep a little bit of a gap going down into turn in the restart zone. So I like we already saw that issue getting the power down on the last restart.
Give a shout out, by the way, to the Air Special event going on this weekend for those on the roadside, 6 hours in North America. If you want to take part in that racing action, be sure to sign up to iRacing today and be sure to hit the racetrack because the races are going on all throughout the weekend if you want to be able to compete for that endurance action. The oval side, meanwhile, ready to go back and play. 62 to go when we take the green flag. Tyler Latterell trying to hold back Sean Conklin. Still a long way to go. Still a couple stops possibly to go. Green flag is out, back underway. They're all moving down the track. Nobody wanting to give up any potential space to the inside. Now they all have to set up for the corner, and Newman getting past now for third. Brower has Newman spinning, bobbling, holding on to it. Now they're all stacking up. Several go to the apron, including the 28. Junior Rema amongst those able to save it. They're still 3 wide, now 2 wide. Wreck at the back. Still side by side for the race lead, though. Conklin's trying to go for it. Hyman is spinning around while Conklin's trying to go for the lead. John Conklin, first time today, now leads the wrecking again in the heart of the field. Caution is out. Dressler, Mozganov are in it on the outside wall in the background, while the leaders will take the caution.
Yeah, Newman got an okay restart. It was the exit coming out of turn 1 that he struggled and caused this just big kerfuffle.
Yeah, that could have been a caution if anyone else was back there for the 30. It got worse by turn 3, though.
I mean, there's a couple fast cars that are kind of out of position. Dressler's looking to make a move, and there's 3 or 4 guys in the wall. That's second incident for the 17, second one for the 11.
So, we're under caution again as everyone catches up to the pace car or gets behind it. So that got intense for the race lead, though, right before the caution, because you got Conklin, you had Brower move up to second at the top of the hour, you have Latterell that got zipped by. You have a whole hornet's nest of API machines now up in front, too. Ahead of many of these others. This has become almost a 1 on, I'd say, 5, possibly, maybe 4. But Conklin's got the difference maker, the clean air that he was able to take control of in the corner.
You know, clean air, controlling the restart, and only having 1 car alongside him. Because I think we saw in that restart how aggressive people were getting. Like, Klein was being shoved down to the inside wall before turn 1. And we'll see if any of this group decides to pit. I'm going to be shocked again if that 14 doesn't.
Yeah, this has turned into another wild sequence of events. Pit stop time, though, as expected, Newman's in. Latterell, though, willing to give up the track position this time after being up at the front.
You can make it on 1 more stop from here, and this is only his 3rd time down pit road, so he has plenty of sets. I think was also banking on more cars to go with him, because he's going to restart out 24th by the looks of things, 25th.
Yeah, if we stay green, you're talking pit stops with about 20 to go for them, for these drivers. For the others, they have to pit right about 40 to go. That's at least the theory. We still haven't seen a green flag stop to get that tested yet. But that being said, all these cars, in a lot of the cases you see on pit road, are still in the camp of they got to fix the race cars. There's a lot of heavy damage for some of those drivers that have taken some hits. Hodgson amongst those who took some hits. Heinen, Latterell, Oxidine, we've seen some of the issues before. Mozganov's been bounced around. He's not in the car anymore. Dressler's still down there. Myers still looks like his car's been crumpled up by a piece of paper, like a piece of paper. Under 60 to go. Doesn't leave you a lot of time to make up for rooms for error now.
Latterell was in the pit for a long time. Did he get damage? I don't think we saw it, but he had to have gotten damage.
I don't know if he did. His car looked okay, but you have to wonder if he had to check on something, saying I'm going to the back anyway, may as well get whatever he needs to do done out of the sim. There's a lot of different things that could have happened there. So all that's to say, if you're still on pit road, you better hit the gas. If you're listening along, hit the gas now. And they're not all hitting the gas, so they're going to stay there.
I'm surprised that 10 car's still running after that hit it took from the 22.
Some of the drivers asking if it can rain. No, it will not rain on oval. Do not think about that right now. What the drivers, I think, outside of that, gonna have to see is what they do for the rest of this run. Because Conklin, Brower, 2 of the big names to watch for in this one. Brower, winner on Wednesday in Top Split. Conklin, winner of just about everything in NIS this year. 1 and 2 is going to make things pretty interesting.
And now you have some other players towards the front, like Klein and Jenkins, who have not been, have kind of been squabbling in that midfield. You have Junish Lim, who's like already spun off a 2 and have had to claw his way back to the front. There he is, 8th on the outside. Matthew J. O'Brien has been like hovering around the mid-teens. Basin is trying to come back to the front. It's a slow process, but he's getting closer to his teammate at least.
So, as the radio descends into chaos right now in the sim, everybody else gets all set to zoom. Mind you, there are some drivers that have come in for 2 tires or top-offs here in the past a little bit too that we have to think about on those who put a couple cautions in. Campbell and Bomar picked up their track position with 7-second stops. It's better than... And by the way, Justin Malillo, I believe, finished whatever's been going on with his car. He only had a 5-second stop with the fuel top off. He's 24th for the iRacing staffer update. All set to go for the restart. So let's find out how this goes.
Basin's the first one, going to be on the newer tire. It's going to be key to watch that 2 car here.
Here we go. 58 to go at the line. Green, green, green. That was close, actually, for who took the first throttle on the gas. It is a black flag for Brower. He hit the gas first. The 13 has a penalty for the outside front row.
Conklin was waiting to the very last minute, and now I think the rest of the field knows he's going to have a penalty. He's going to have to come in. This might get a little dicey off of turn 4.
Caution.
Oh, never mind.
Not sure where it was this time. Oh, there it is. Ted Lowendick, the part sim racing broadcaster, usual road course racer, having a moments here. 34 car, got some help, believe. He was battling for 18th in a 3 wide.
It didn't feel like the middle part of the field, because the Conklin left it late. It felt like that middle part of the field just didn't really get going. So we had a lot of 2 and 3 wide going into 1 and 2.
Here comes Ted. Watch the drivers underneath right about here.
That was Kirchhoff, yeah. I think. And I don't know if he knew he was 3 wide. I think because someone, it might have been Nanny, it might have been Gabriel Pellegrino who went underneath and made it 3 wide. It might be a case of like it just became 3 wide as he moved down into the corner.
So, another caution. And that's going to complicate things for the 13. Here's the thing. Jacob has to serve that under green for that penalty. For passing, or rather, hitting the gas first before the control car. Because in your sim, when you are on that outside front row, you cannot go above pace speed before the leader. And that's what Jacob did here. Jacob's now going to come down pit road. I don't think that's going to clear it, though, as we said.
I think he'll put him at the rear of the field so he doesn't, feel like he's at risk of getting turned as he comes down pit road. I think that's the concern, or the concern that I'm going to do it again on accident somehow.
You can see him just sitting in the pit stall. Let's keep an eye on this here, because in the past, at least, you have to serve a penalty like that under green. Let's see if the sim has the counterpoint here. He is taking the time to work and sit in the box, though. A lot of others came down, like Thomas Daries. You have Myers, who again repairs. Newman has been off and on for top-offs, trying to extend his fuel run because he wants to roll the dice again. So all this is to say, you have a new driver in second, or potentially here. Last person who led was Miranda, technically, because he took the pace car. But Steven Maggio was up in second.
Yeah, these are some new players up towards the front, and they've been kind of battling in the mid pack or in that upper teens, lower single digits now. And Conklin doesn't have his teammate yet. Bason's getting close.
Yeah, somebody is going to have to figure out the way to take control of this race now late. We've seen one driver try that already. We've seen in the teal. Now, the closer we get to the chance to make it to green to the end of the race on fuel, the more bolder callers we're expecting here.
For this front group, it's kind of interesting because, like, they can't make it on one more stop. They can't make it to the end if they stop here. They need probably at least 10, 12 laps more before they can pit and comfortably say, yeah, we can go to the end. So I don't know how that is going to play out strategy-wise. And then again, there's this just grouping of midfield, like Basin, like Chenoweth, that have already stopped that still need to stop again.
Can't confirm Brower did not get the chance to clear the flag, so it is the case where, as we said, it's going to be under green. We did have a delayed restart. I believe somebody stopped on the track. Lateral slowed down. And we'll go around for an extra pace lap. This will put us, by the time we get going, at 53 to go. When we come across the stripe for the green flag. But on the bright side for the 13, it is a smarter play than trying to pit from the heart of the field, you can say, Jonathan, for him to come in, wait for everybody to finish their service in front of him, hit the gas to make sure you don't lose the lead lap, obviously, and then you're at the back of the field anyway, come down the lane after the green flag's taken, and you come in as everyone's taking the restart. That's at least the thought I think is going to happen here.
Yeah, because he's going to be far enough behind where he's going to have the opportunity, I think, to come down. It's just that restart zone is kind of so far down. He's going to have to time it right somehow.
Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised if he's one of those trying to speed up the pace car. By the way, heard Justin Mallow has not had damage throughout these times he's down pit road. He has been under the weather, he just reported in our Twitch feed. So, hopefully he's doing well, taking it easy in his words. Right now running 25th. It might be time to go from taking it easy to going for the spots, because this could get wild with the green light on fuel 15 laps away from now. Next time by, in fact this time will be one to go. Get the restart next time by, because that previous delay has gone off amongst those who took the opportunity with this to actually get more repairs done. Same for Ted Lowendick, who's still dealing with left side damage.
Newman and Lateral have been down each and every time to get more fuel. And again, if we get more yellow, it's possible. It's not likely, but it's possible they can get it from here. It's going to be a monumentous task.
Yeah, this is to where, at the very least, there is one bright side if you have cautions like this. Your competitors get to know each other in this session and learn about each other, because some of them like to talk a lot. Some focus on the drive, others look to entertain themselves by learning about their teammates. They've been trying that all caution. We talked about they were going to do that at one point.
It's a shame they can only have like one person talk at a time, because I really do want to hear the whole lobby go like, you know, hi Joseph or something like that.
Yeah, they actually did do that by text, though. So, on the bright side, we mentioned Bason's been on the move. He's up in the top 7 now. He's got fresher tires, though, than everybody in front of him. So Bason's the highest up that has had a pit stop. The most recent pit stops is Tanner Love down in 21st.
And again, I don't know if those topping off, if you can make it to the end from here without a caution or without more caution. Obviously, we've had a lot of them.
Here we go. Restart time coming up to 53 to go. Here we go. Conklin in control. Green. Back to racing. Jacob Brower is serving the penalty as expected in the back of the field. Side by side for second. That's Klein. Two teammates battling with each other. The Toyota, though, has the better opportunity on the outside.
Get a late race restart. Conklin needs to do exactly what he just did.
Yeah, look at the gap grow. It's already upwards of 4 car lengths. We've already seen today it's been hard to close up the leader. As we all make our way through, the first side-by-side is right about here. This is Olsen on the inside. That's O'Brien on the outside with the slow up. Donaldson pushing one lane. Bomar pushing another. Well, Campbell goes to try and pass them all.
$50 to go. It's getting to crunch time a little bit, but there's still some give and take. A little bit of giving everyone some space down the straightaway. I think about 20 laps time, I think we might be going 3 wide into 1.
Oh, they're still 2x2 bouncing off each other. These drivers not afraid to trade paint right now this late in the going here. It's after all been almost 2.5 hours. Right now, still watching to see Super Mario trying to find his way forward in the 7, up in 6th in the Nexus car. Keep an eye on how much some of these drivers offset their lines over the course of this. You see Basin, how much that second groove might come into play a little bit later. It is helping him get some clean air to at least set himself up for possibly turn 2 after the short suit.
And remember, he's got slightly fresher rubber than those ahead of him. So he may be trying to pick off this group that's right ahead of him and Lim and Jenkins pretty quickly if he can.
Meanwhile, Miranda just said the second he got close to him, got tight. Does not like the balance, he's saying on the radio right now. Meanwhile, back at the group, how are things going? Well, you have drivers like Nanny trying to make up spots. A few of the others trying to snake their way even further, like Wembley, Dressler's, Dunstall's under recovery from contact. A lot of these cars have been busy all night. They're side by side between 26 and 25.
A wide variety of damage, strategy, and tire life between these guys towards the back of the pack. I mean, the 3 cars made up a lot of spots. Going to 14th is Nanny.
Now some of these drivers trying to giddy up and go. Part of those with the service. See some side-by-side at the top box, by the way. That's Klein versus Jenkins, who's up in the order. That's the 23 car, able to get into the podium positions.
That's a little bit of a late block. I don't know if Klein's going to like that. He's going to remember that next time he's going to try it.
Jenkins, one of those who did make appearances in the World of Outlaws Championship. A lot of these drivers bumping and banging hard in this group. Still have to see who's able to actually get up to the next pack, because here's the thing. Leader's gone, second's gone, third's breaking away. You cannot afford to battle for too long, Jonathan, with under 50 to go, because these leaders are already upwards of more than a second per car up in the top 3.
And the biggest issue is handling, because now that we're back under green, Toronto retires from this lead group. So they're struggling. You saw the 19 get all sorts of sideways last time around.
Yeah, the 19 machine would be Joseph Klein you're referring to. All this is getting to where it's similar to that of what we see with that Lorna run that we seen prior to the halfway point starting to come into play. A lot of single file, but now, look at that. Basin got a run. 19 pulled back. There goes Dylan Basin up to the 4th position. He's yet to lead a lap tonight. Meanwhile, bottom of the box, one of those trying to battle is Oxidine. Again, he's battling the Brazilian. Correa trying to hold on. Junior trying to find a way to get the run to the outside, the 28 machine.
Some cars that have been in the wars, still fighting hard, 18th and 19th. There's a couple guys behind him that are trying to save to the end, that have been topping off when we've gotten the chance. So some that are maybe praying for another yellow, and I think the lead group, at least, I think is just hoping this stays green for a little bit longer.
Especially, well, some of them might be thinking pit stop, pit stop, pit stop. I don't think we're in the fuel range for pit stop, though. With 47 to go, it might be touch and go. I think some of these drivers want this to go a little bit longer to make sure they're good on the fuel. Absolutely, Jonathan. Yes, might simplify the strategy, but if a caution comes now, it's going to become a fuel save for a lot of cars.
I think it'll be interesting once we hit, I think, 40 to go. He's going to be in like 7 laps time. Who pulls the trigger of that front group first? Basin, we know, is going to stay out. He's going to run a little bit longer, or may have that shorter stop to try and leapfrog a few people. So maybe it's going to be interesting to see when people time it out. Because it looks like, for the moment, we're heading towards that direction. If this is going to become a strategy game.
Now, some would say in the sim, we've talked about this before, at 40 to goes the green light. I think I just heard someone say pit, pit, pit. Mario Miranda, maybe? Still keep an eye on the various lead packs in your boxes. But this could get interesting if there is one now. Coming out of 4, I think that was Mario Miranda just responding to us in the broadcast about a lap afterwards. He's kept on going. That being said, no one else drawn in. There goes some of the pokes you see as Klein still tries to keep a top 5 with the teammate behind. Here we go! Donaldson! He's up on the wall! 17's in it also. Caution flag is out, and now it gets wild on fuel. That's Johnny Dressler.
So the 17 has been through the wars, and I believe that's going to be an incident limit issue coming soon for him.
Well, about trying to make it a 40, I think for now it's time for the fuel mileage dance. We're at 45 to go, Jonathan. That's a bad time for the caution for some. And Dressler hit the incident penalty limit.
Yeah, it's just, you're this top group. It's interesting as we're going to get a replay here. They're side by side. Dressler, they're really close to one another. It's just that slight contact of Dressler getting tight and then pushing Donaldson into the outside wall.
And Donaldson was not happy at all, kept on the throttle there as Dressler was sent through turn 2. And it all puts us right under the yellow flag. They will not be making up at the NB Grill, it looks like. But we will see them at least trying to get some repairs likely.
Yeah, the fuel. Yeah, now this is going to get tricky because, like, we're going to be on the edge. But I think if you come down now, I mean, you have to, if you're this lead group. But what does everyone else do? Like, what does Basin do? Like, he doesn't need to come down for another 10, 20 laps. Does he want to be in the back?
I don't know what to say here. We're talking about coming up to 41 to go when we take the green flag. We're talking needing to save probably a lap, if that. Maybe 2. But everyone is coming down as expected here. Worst one staying out there is Ricky Heinen, who needs to take a wave possibly if he wants a lap back. So we should see 4 tires per lap. Brad Newman did not pit. Thomas Darius as well. I think they just took a big gamble here. Well, everyone else is going to come in and try and save.
They were two of the ones to top off on that last yellow. They needed a yellow to make this strategy work. The problem is, again, that older rubber is going to be the big problem, I think, for them.
See how this worked on the pit entry with everyone else really beating up. But don't soften away, led by Dylan Basin, who took a 1 second quicker stop than everybody. And you see right there, 25 amongst those taking the choice. See Newman stayed out. Everyone else finishing up their service. But Basin has made the recovery. He'll be in front of Conklin, and then Maggio is behind him with Lim and Jenkins, along with Klein. Right up there also.
Lateral gained a lot of spots too, because he only needed, I think, tires, or if anything. So he made up a lot of spots as well, because he was towards the back and had some sort of issue that cycled him back there. So he's now in 10th.
The thing is, I don't see this working out into a major positive most it's chaos for the 25-14 here, though, Jonathan. Correct me if I'm wrong here. We're talking 6 pit stops in, a lot of top-offs in that mix. They cannot make it on gas unless we get a bunch of cautions.
I think that's what they're banking on. It has to be what they're banking on, because the 25 has struggled for long-run pace most of the day. That has been, I think, the worry for them. I think Newman has done pretty well on the older tires. I will say the 14 has looked okay on the older tires. It's not too much of an offset. But if we get back green and we get single file, yeah, they're in trouble. So their hope is another rash of yellow fever here to get to the end.
Remember, the drivers that stayed out are 12 to 14 laps into the runs for those that want to keep an eye with their calculators. How this looks on the mileage for them. So that being said, Basin's in row 2 behind them, along with Conklin on the freshies. Then it's Maggio and Lim, we mentioned, with Jenkins and Klein. Beaumart's in the conversation, along with Lateral. Then it's Miranda and O'Brien. A few drivers coming down again. This includes Malillo again topping off. Imagine if Malillo out-strategizes everybody and makes it on gas.
I think that would be winning the century right there. Or even like Brower and Nanny, who were at the front and now had to we're now cycled back to the rear. Like, this could play out well for them. This restart's going to be interesting, because you had the two teammates in row 2 that have been at the front and know what to do. You know, Basin's seen just about everything tonight, because he was in that mid-pack when the 10 car went into the wall. So how do those two kind of play out this restart?
A lot of ways this can go. Coming up as expected, 41 to go.
Imagining also, like, the guys in the midfield that saw these two stay out are thinking, like, you know, back to Star Wars Episode 1 and the Trade Federation ship. This is out of hand. Now there are 2 of them. There are 2 of them that stayed out on these older tires. But again, it's not that much older than earlier. So I don't think Newman's going to spin the tires as much as we saw earlier.
Here we go. See how this goes. Drivers will have to save a touch a bit. But everyone up at the front, the first 2, will not be able to make it, is the current estimate. They hope for carnage. Will they get it? Green, green, green. We're backing away. The Ryko machine / RFK machine looking to push. Look at 3 wide. Beaumart trying to go to the inside. That's why they've been snaking down there, and Beaumart squeaks on through up to the 6th position. There we go again. Slides involving Jenkins. No caution. We stay green as the leaders continue to try and get around Newman.
Yeah, Newman did not get a good start. Derry's got a really good restart and able to get out ahead, but now this is going to be a bad situation, I think, because he's not going to have Newman there as a bit of a buffer. He's going to have Basin and Conklin right behind him.
Newman bleeding spots. Look at this into turn 1. This got a bit ferocious for Jenkins after the little tap. Then got a big tap. Maybe no air taken off spoiler.
Good save, though. And, like, that's one of those moments where you feel helpless as a driver, where you just all of a sudden you lose the arrow that you've had for laps prior. And you're like, what on earth went wrong?
It's getting very ferocious for some of this with under 40 to go now. Some of the drivers Glatterell trying to make a move, but it's a lot of single file with Thomas Durries trying to hold on for as long as he can until he needs to pit. See the 9 of Lim. Next up, trying to attack Newman. Hit a bit of the curb that time. Gonna have to keep it steady because Newman, despite the older tires, has been able to withstand the pressure fairly well, except for corner exit. They're blocked by Newman.
That might save him a little bit in terms of track position and time, but it's going to cost him the time ahead. Although Conklin hasn't really gotten away, and I'm wondering if he's trying to save now, and if his teammate is the one that's been tasked to go chase down the leaders in the wall.
Here comes Basin. He looks for his first lead of the day. Dylan Basin to the front. Now the RFK car looks to take off. Now it's the question, will he start saving as he keeps it through 4th gear? Meanwhile, his teammate Conklin still 3rd, more bouncing and baiting behind as everyone still lines up to get around Newman.
If you're Conklin, this is the best case scenario though, because now there's a big scrap to try and get around this 14.
Yeah, there's only so long this 14 can hold on here with the way that car is. Right now, Newman going inside. Liv did not want to give up the inside after that. Everybody's making it clear they need to go. Newman again blocks. Maggio loose. Miranda saves it. To the bottom goes Latterell. And Newman's not making friends here.
It's going to be like an angry bee in his rearview mirror at this point with Maggio. I think he made himself clear with that block earlier on Lim that he wants to fight for this track position.
They'll all try and line up again. Miranda's saying it's a team effort to make a pass like this right now. Kind of has been tonight, because when they have worked together, the driver behind, it has worked out well. Miranda responds to that pep talk by just passing him on the outside.
I think that's okay, you go try.
Has to be. He's praying a couple of hours like Latterell. Would you believe Oxidine, after that huge incident a few cautions ago, is now in the top 8?
I mean, him and Lim have both hit the wall or hit a car pretty heavily too, and they're both in the top 10. Like, this is a great recovery drive.
Yeah, usually a league racer. In his case, Nanny. You see amongst those trying to lock in. This is the second pack that's become a bit of a mess. Klein, mind you, has had his front end kicked in. Some of the others just trying to say, I want to get going before we run out of time.
Yeah, but there's some that, like, even if you topped off at the last second, like, we're getting close. Like, you have to hope for another yellow, and then we have to have another conversation of, well, what do you do?
Meanwhile, shout out to Flyer, still running, and this one running 23rd. Oh, here in turn 3, some smoke popping up. No caution, though. We stay green. That was Kirsanov. Kirsanov going around on the 26 for a moment.
It hangs on to it, stays high, able to at least slot into line at the end of the group. So we stayed green, but that would have spiced things up, too. I think, Miranda has now had difficulty trying to get by Newman, or they've just kind of all agreed, hey, let's save gas behind the 14, knowing he has to pit.
Not hearing a lot of clutch and coasting for those of the sounds you hear on the bottom, by the way. So some of these drivers a little bit more confident than others. By the way, they're all catching up to Zach Range, who knocked the wall down. Lingering chassis damage has to be a thought for some at this point. Newman in the top box. Yet again, does not want to let anyone through. Contact Miranda.
This is an aggressive defense. Like, he is fighting for his life to hold on to 5th place, and I think he's going to unfortunately lose it here into 1.
There he goes. And Miranda slows. What happened there? He went from pass to having to put on the e-brake almost. You don't have it, of course, in this car, but it sure looked like with how much he had to let it roll to make the corner.
That's the case if he probably just got a little bit too low making that move. Like, turn 1 is so tricky to really nail it right, and if you end up too low, you can be plowed into the corner. That's going to be the worry now for his teammate below him.
So they'll all try and at least calm down a little bit. Will they energize up? Under 33 to go this time by. The field's starting to splinter yet again. Newman still holds on to these spots. Remember, he is going to have potentially a pit stop. We're talking if it stays green with under 10 laps to go. Newman needs a caution, probably in about 10 laps from now to try something, but a lot of the field might come down for tires anyway. That, again, is part of the play here. And Newman wouldn't have to take a full tank either to get to the end, you'd have to think here, if he does get any luck. Because as long as he knows how to make the car adjustment for the weight balance, he would be able to battle and try and sneak away a top 10 here. He's got at least that, I think, with equal tires.
Yeah, and you also have the fact that, again, this track is so long, so someone probably, if they were thinking, like, we're not going to make it on fuel, can bail out early and get out ahead of Basin. And then if the yellow comes out, they can cycle to the front. I think that has to be a thought process, too, for anyone.
So many ways this is going to go. So all this is while Newman again under attack at the back of the field. Everybody's dancing around to the middle. They're trying to keep up with Brower's draft. Remember his penalty earlier? He's back to 16th.
Yeah, and they're slowing each other down, too. It's going to hurt them. Not necessarily for overall pace and time, but it might be burning more fuel trying to stay in front of one another.
Got a couple of these drivers just need to think, where are they going to make this pass to get it done right? Zach Range, people have compared him to a weatherman in terms of the voice on the radio tonight. Just trying to make sure he does not end up seeing that machine go for a ride again tonight as McGuire stays outside with the help of Tanner Love.
I wonder too, with some of these cars that have damage, that have been through the wars, like how affected they are in the air, because you see someone's front end pushed in. I know you mentioned the 19 of Klein pushed in at the head of a group. Is he losing time? Yeah, because he's at the head of the group punching air when he's got damage.
He's already been freight trained by a few up the order. You see Jenkins. See how some of those drivers up the road are stepping out right now? That's where that 19 is at the moment. You're talking straight line difference, at least 5 miles an hour at the moment. That behind machine in the 19 is going the wrong way and needs a caution to fix it.
Must have got that on the restart with the stack up going into 1 and 2.
Yeah, look at everyone. Got to find a way to go. They're making contact, trying to get around, actually, of Lars Chenoweth. Chenoweth floors it in 3. Burren able to get alongside. You see that on the inside of the bottom screen. Now to full screen, should say. That 21, been fighting hard, was up in the top 10 early. And competitive in this part of the field, though, as again, bumper to bumper to bumper.
When you're in a group like this, it's so hard to try and make a good move. Because, again, one mistake, and now there's another guy on you. Like, Jenkins is going to make an opportunistic move on the inside of the 28. But if that doesn't go well, it slows them both down. And they're going to have someone behind him in McGuire.
Oh, I don't know about this. Jenkins is scraping paint up the straightaway. This is for 21st, by the way. As Jenkins gets on through. Major drama in the corner. I have to wonder what Tanner Love may be thinking about in this, by the way. Again, we talked about, hold on 1 second, change that thought. Pit stop time for the 25. Window for those who stayed out is open. He's trying to give himself some time in case there is a chance to make up some of it. Meanwhile, Lateral slides his way in front of Lim.
I think this is a good time, I think, for the 25 to do this, because he's going to come out still ahead of Basin on fresher rubber, so still should stay on the lead lap and could cycle to the front if we get another caution. And he knows he's been struggling towards the longer end of the run. So I think this is a good time for him. Newman, I don't know, like he might wait until the last drop.
Yeah, I think knowing Newman, that is absolutely got to be the play. You're running 5th if you're Newman right now. This is a big gamble, yeah, in terms of what we talked about earlier. But right now, it is equalized out. After the short run difference, look at that. Newman's actually in the background going for 4th. Took the dive on the 9.
I think this is actually a little of an awkward situation. Like, Newman knows, like, he's not going to make it, so he's just going to push. But Lim and Lateral are trying to save as much fuel as they can. So there's probably a lot more lift and coast into the 15 and the 9 than there is that 14.
If there's any needed left, because right now, a lot of these drivers can't confirm. There was clutch and coasting for Conklin a little bit in the corner at least, trying to let the car roll for a long time. They are blipping the clutch. Oh, boys, someone can't make it, though. It's the 15. He's in.
That's an interesting one of the leaders to pull in, because he was one that topped off a couple times on the previous round of cautions.
Yeah, this is turning out to where if you cannot make it, some of these drivers are at least trying to see, can they take fresher tires to fall off in 1 second. In theory, too, I don't know if you make up 40, 50 seconds, but surely you get the chance to jump ahead of those who also can't make it. Lateral only took a 7-second stop in his case.
And there's probably a group, going to be that high teens group, that is on the cusp of going a lap down if they come out. Because here's Lateral. You see clean track behind him. The 25 just came into frame. Your leader just took the finish line. So there's still a big gap for you to come out and stay on the lead lap if you pit now, if you think you're not going to make it and this stays green.
A lot of people looking at their gas mileage in their black box, looking at their inputs, going from there. Under 25 laps to go. Again, this has been a surprising run for a couple of the drivers like the 22. Oxendine, again, to carve his way up into the 6th spot after running in the 20s for 3/4 of the race. It's definitely something. I don't think he's saving compared to, say, a Miranda or a Lim. But he's surely pushing the tempo, keeping it 5th gear in the corners right now with the setup.
Been in the 20s and then pounded into our lead dominator, Finnegan Myers, at one point. And somehow this car is still good enough to be running solid lap times. I mean, it's a good story for the 22, and the same with the 9 of Lim. Him and the 11 got tangled together coming out of 2, and he's running 3rd.
I mean, I guess in the words of Justin Campbell, this is going to be out of context to, I think, his meaning. Cake is cake. If you have a cake, you may as well eat the cake. In the case of the 22, one person is going to look at it a different way, but in his case, iRain's iRating. Good finish is good finish. She's in a plus 78 range if you care about the iRain side. Tie for the most gain, but with Lim and Newman if they hold their spots.
Also looking at the lap times of those that pitted compared to the front runners, they're about a second faster than our leader. And right now we're in the low 53s, high 52s, which is about where we are for this kind of tire fall off. So maybe the tire fall off is also helping safety a little bit.
Yep, here comes Oxendine trying to make the move. Not able to get around Medina as he stays in the line. Some of the drivers in the back group are taking a look again at some of them in the train. Klein down to 16th with the damage. It's struggling down the straights. Burns next, followed by Chenoweth, Jenkins, and Remo. Munsell's able to go.
And Newman's called it quits. He's going to pit now. And he'll come out probably ahead of Derry's and somewhere next to lateral.
Yeah, this is for him going to need to be a quick stop. Race leader, mind you, is already down the middle of the back straightaway by 2.5 seconds. Basin has over Conklin. So away they go. Tick away the time as you see some of the yards in the lead pack starting to fight. That's Justin Campbell trying to battle it out with Beaumont.
Those are two that have already shown they don't want to give an inch to anyone, and I don't think they're giving an inch to each other.
Oh, Campbell nearly got himself turned in front of Beaumont and lets him go. Oh, and Beaumont has a technical issue. Well, that was a bad timing for him. He's back.
Save more fuel if you do that? I don't think so.
Making contact?
No, the blipping, not the contact. The contact, I know you don't.
No, I don't think you do. If anything, you give less draft to the person behind because you don't exist there, if that happens. Noah Hodgson is down the lane. He went only 22 this run.
If I'm everyone else and I saw the 24 has been in the top 10 car all day, it might be time. Ooh, in the wall.
Yeah, some side-by-side popping up. Braden Donaldson. He's been involved in contact a few times tonight, still scrapping it out to hold on to spots. Yeah, that 32 can be a bit bold, but he just may have smacked the wall there and did. Maggio saying, you have to get it together. His teammates saying, we've got to get together here and work.
That's good. Was it a more like a pep talk, like pump it up, let's get it together, or more of an angry, let's get it together?
I think it's more like, we can do this together type of pep talk, you know? They're all in the same camp in that line, so you may as well work together and try and draft together and keep up with the rest of the people in the pack.
I don't know if this is the team building exercise that I think they had in mind for the day, but it could be. He's struggling out of the corners. This 32 was better on the long runs earlier, but now that the track's rubbered up, track temp has actually gone down since the mid part of the race. I think that 32's, the handling has just gone away.
Bit of a change up there you see up the road, by the way. That's Oxendine getting around Miranda. 22 is up to 4th with under 20 to go. Coming to 18 laps to go in this one.
I think the scarier part for our leaders, and especially this group that is trying to save and preserve a top 10, is going to be in a few laps' time when the tires are going to be screaming for life and there's going to be some guys struggling with the handling and you just don't want a caution. None of these guys right here, I think, want a caution. They're saving and trying to get to the end.
And I know there's conversation on how are the top two this far ahead? Well, they are clutching still. Basin is, Conklin is. Both of them are keeping in 5th gear around the racetrack. Lim is not clutching coasting for reference. I think that says a lot on their pace, and the 2 and the 1 are doing what they're doing while fuel saving, up 6 seconds from first to third.
I mean, even if they're fuel saving, like, it doesn't look like they're losing time. Like, 52.9, 52.8, at this point in the stint, that ain't half bad, and they're still a couple tenths clear of the rest of the top 5. Only this last lap was someone faster than our leader, and that was the 22, who's decided it's go time.
Oh, that's wow. That EPI group ditched one of their teammates, Bomar. Lost touch because they picked up Miranda up in front of them's pole. For those curious, 53 flats to 52 eights for the top 2. They're running about the same pace now. What else? They just had that big of a boost over the front pole way. So it's hard to gain time, Jonathan, when everybody's about equal to those that have the gap up in front, isn't it?
It's hard to gain time as well when you have to consider like fuel saving as well, fuel and tire conservation, because you think about like the great real life drivers like Scott Dixon, who's like fantastic at saving fuel and tires but still getting lap time. It's 32 again, getting on the wall. This track is gonna look more like Darlington, I think, by the end of the night.
Yep, you see Donaldson gets in front of the 7, should rather say. Now up the top 5. Donaldson's been aggressive to get these spots back. Lars Chenoweth still fighting amongst those in the top 20. That's 3 wide again. Here we go. It's turn 3. The 28 nearly spins it. Now they're slamming up in the short chute. Jenkins, Tanner Love gets through. Somehow we all straighten up. We stay green.
Now it's going to be how much damage is on some of these cars. There's another one that's called it quits. Olsen, who was in the top 10. I think if you see that or know that, if you're the leaders, I don't know if you pull the plug now or pull it, thinking there's going to be a caution that you can cycle back to the front.
Yeah, all that's to say that was around the area where things could potentially happen, and they almost did. Under 15 to go, coming to 14 to go in this one. Nick Olsen, by the way, took a 17-second stop, just finished his service. Don't believe a hood on the lead lap. Here's the replay of what just happened.
Yeah, late block by the 23, and then the 28 just gets tight. Like, there's nothing Chenoweth can do. He's kind of just an innocent passenger at that point.
Yep. Lim staying. He's going low to get around traffic. Oxendine wants his shot to try and get a run back on the 32. Donaldson is up to 4th. Here's the 28's view. Crazy car control.
I think from all of them. Like the 21 was like in the wall and was able to keep that thing straight. And Chenoweth has been through the wars a little bit. He's run the outside, I think, more than anyone else, just because he's had someone on his inside all race long. As now you can see the 11 car, he's damaged, banged up, now coming into play.
Yeah, has been for some of these drivers an absolute war to get up here. But now, in the case of Donaldson at least, looking to catch up to a teammate there after last stop, having 50 seconds of repairs. Backdrop, that's Justin Campbell being aggressive back there. All of this as well. We come up to 12 to go. Oh, Beaumar just scraping the wall there in that battle pack. That was Justin Campbell making the move as we touched upon. His AK performance machine able to jump up into the top 8, and now the 5 will try and get around the swarm of EPI and Nexus machines that are up next.
Who's in 10th? Look at that 13 machine clawing back after that penalty.
If it wasn't for that penalty, I wouldn't be surprised if we still seen Brower at least in the top 5. has been able to at least get to the top 10 to salvage a good finish here.
And he did top off on the last stop. So he has a little bit more fuel than everyone else. And if this goes green and if some of these guys run out, this 13 could be in a good position.
That's a big if, though, knowing the situation for a couple of these drivers. Right now, things are looking like everyone's going to wait out and try and stretch. We're at 32 laps into the run for just about everybody with 11 laps to go. Time ticking away for just about everybody to try and get themselves some good finishes here in the Brickyard 400, a part of the iRacing special event calendar here at Indianapolis Motor Speedway here on iRacing and Racespot. Keep an eye on that 7th place on back group. You can see a couple of the drivers wanting to get around, in fact. That is Campbell yet again, picking up another one. It's been difficult to make some of these moves here today we touched upon, but Campbell, he's been doing a good job picking them off one by one here. Couldn't clear though, still side by side for 7th.
Yeah, I think we're getting down to the point where you might not want to give up that space, and Maggio almost ended up in the wall. He's able to keep the spot. But if I'm the leaders, this is what I fear the most. This group right here that have already shown the 4 and the 5, Campbell and Beaumont, don't want to give any quarter. Maggio and Miranda just kind of want to get to the end.
Oh, Campbell knocked the wall down and got arrow tight. Maggio and Miranda both run away. By the way, some of these leaders are in traffic. Conklin is also trimming the gap down up at the front. 7 still bouncing back to 16 with under 10 laps to go, coming in 9 to go. But the lead's down to under a second, and some of the others are really starting to talk about dirty air off of those who have already pit, Jonathan.
Yeah, I wanted to say that the 2 got the 30 of Heinen in a bad spot and lost a lot of time. 53-1 last time. Conklin the 52-8. Could also be the 2 may need to save more, and Conklin saved earlier in the run.
Keep an eye on that for now. Kirsanov, by the way, we've seen that camera earlier today. Still holding on the 20th. In fact, it's Cameron nearby. Chenoweth is right behind both of them, trying to hold on to their spots. Hodgson actually zipping by on the freshies.
Gonna hold on and just salvage the day at this point, because now we're like, this is the limit of, I think, how long we've run on these tires. So we're getting in a weird zone for some of these guys that we don't know how your car is going to handle.
Under 8 to go. Still hearing a lot of clutch and coasting from some of the drivers here now. Some are saying, can they get a yellow to make it? Right now, that's not a guarantee with the way things are looking late. That lead, by the way, is under half a second. Here is a look. Basin has Conklin chipping it away. Over the past 5 laps, Conklin's been near a 10th.5 faster.
Some of that might be the draft, some of that might be Basin saving, but now we're doing the IndyCar trick. We're breaking the toe, going down to the inside, trying to, keep as much in front as possible. I don't know, but these 2 have been evenly matched when we've seen them on screen. It's going to be hard for Conklin to make a move without some sort of help, I think.
The RFK machines near in sync on their fuel save, but there's Basin tight. Conklin's got a little bit more pull down the straightaway. He was near 3/4 quicker last time. Now Conklin is now within a quarter of a second. Coming up to 6 to go in the Brickyard. Miranda amongst those trying to hold on to 6, meanwhile in the bottom box.
And there's lap traffic coming out that have been in the pit row, that have hit the wall, that's affecting this battle in the mid group. And again, this is the point, the area of concern for the leaders. If they get too squirrely, it could be disastrous.
Now it's top 5 for Miranda. As things shuffle again because Braden Donaldson is in. He could not make it on fuel. He only went 37. Everybody is at about 37 except for Nanny and a couple others who topped off. They're at 36. We're coming up to 5 to go. Conklin in a close run again. Backs up his corner. Still waits to see how his RFK teammate holds on in front.
It's the 19 of Klein behind, who had damage earlier, who pitted.
I don't think it's going to be effective with the damage on the front end. More drivers at pit, including Finnegan Myers. Charles Wembley, 12. This pack still lined up nose to tail. 5 to go.
I think if you think you can't make it and you're in that top 9, I mean, that may be time to pull the trigger because, you know, Donaldson just came out and the leaders went by. No, no.
Oh, here we go for the lead. Basin loses it to Conklin. A run off of turn 2. Cost Dylan Basin with a scrape to the wall. It's Sean Conklin back up in front, coming up 4 laps to go from the Brickyard.
It's been everyone's kryptonite has been turn 2, and that 2 just got tight. And now I don't know if he's going to be able to put up much of a fight to his teammate if he's got aero damage, because it looked like a pretty hefty hit.
Yeah, that's going to be a concern. It's not going to be body. It's going to be underneath the car right there. That was heavy, heavy contact, as you said.
I mean, it looks square on, but it's going to be hard for us to see, I think, any under damage. To see the speed and the pace, because it looks like he's losing a bit of time to his teammate. But again, that also still may be fuel save.
A lot of time, actually. Coming up to 3 to go. He's already lost the whole gap he had initially. 5 laps prior. 7/10 already. That's a 1.4 second swing in terms of distance on the racetrack compared to the 1. 3 to go for Sean Conklin to win another race in NIS and pick up a Crown Jewel special event. Miranda's still fighting hard with Justin Campbell for 5th.
And the lap traffic ain't making it easy for any of them.
Look at Brower, he's moving his way through this. They're still fighting side by side a few rows deep. Heavy, heavy traffic up at the front. Hearing somebody may have went around to the pit entrance. We're still green though. That was Jenkins. We're still racing.
This group back here, like, they've been fighting each other so hard. It's hard to know if anyone has been fuel saving or if they can get it to the end. Like, we're gonna be biting your nails a little bit here.
Justin Campbell nearly snapped around. Daniel Nanny got by. 2 to go for the race leaders. Conklin running away with it. Everyone that was in that heavy battle packs calm down here. Now Conklin hopes there's no trouble for the next couple miles.
I think the best news that Conklin can hear is that this group fighting hard for the end of the top 5 is single file.
Yeah, he has been up in the front all night, but only has led 20 plus laps. Right now, Basin swarmed by lap cars. His chances are done. The car seems hurt. All that's while white flag ready to fly. Sean Conklin just more than 2 miles away from victory at Indy. Conklin already communicating with Donaldson on the radio. Says he'll let by him possibly to let him have a lap back. He's got the cushion of 2 seconds. Brower just took over 5th off the sequence. For Sean Conklin, if you want to win in these longer distance races, you have to go through him. Conklin for the RFK machine, able to come away on top with the pace, on top of the car. For the 19th time in NIS Open, will get the win. He gets a special event win with the Brickyard 400. He gets it done at Indy.
I think his teammate's out of fuel in the background.
Yes, he is. Lim just stole second. Oxendine just stole third. Brower and a few others get by him. What a finish for some of the drivers. Basin falls all the way to 10th as he runs out of gas coming to the checker flag. And some of the drivers are out of gas right now. I think Conklin may be out.
Like that is how close we were running it. This one car is shaking, trying to get back to the start finish straight. But we were like, and that shows you also like how many had to bail out of how close we were. That some of those that are in the pro category struggled to make it. And I wondered when Basin got that huge run to get the lead, if maybe he used too much fuel. And
Sean Conklin's 19th NIS Open victory in just 22 weeks of racing on the season. And he gets it done in the Brickyard 400 here on iRacing. Showing why he's running the Cup Series is actually amongst those in the top 10 in points coming into this upcoming round. So, time to burn it out. Conklin gets it done. And I think that's about all he has got gas for. Nope, he's got more. He's trying. Or at least we'll try and get it to the yard of bricks for the photo. He doesn't have that. So this race could have gone a lot of different ways, and it definitely did. In the end, Sean Conklin able to step up and take over the lead, taking it from Basin and coming out on top for RFK here tonight. Let's take a look at the race results. Lim and Oxendine, top threes. How about that for the 22 after what was a roller coaster early? Jacob Brower in the top 5 along with Justin Campbell. 6 went to James Bomar with Matthew J. O'Brien, Charles Wembley, Stephen Maggio, Dylan Basin, the top 10.
10 or 11, 11th. Burin at the 31. Didn't talk about him most of the night. That's 12th. Wilbur Mema after a chaotic start, 13th. Nanny led at one point, 14th. Miranda, McGuire, Molino, Kirsanov. Latero was up front at one point, and Range. That is your top 20.
21st, you turn the page. That's where you'll find Thomas Daries. He was up at the top of the standings before tonight. That will shuffle potentially. Brad Newman, Large Chenoweth coming away in the top 23. Braden Donaldson, 1 lap down, did not get the lap back per the discussions he was hoping to get back. Joseph Klein, 25th. Heinen, Olsen, Jenkins, Pellegrino, Lowendick, your top 30.
There were some guys that were been through the wars. Hodgson pitted early thinking maybe there could be a caution. I guess I go to the front, ended up going a lap down. Your dominating car from the beginning of the race. Finnegan Myers down a lap. Mosner Gunoff also in the wars. Tressler hit the incident limit. Sobilio had heavy damage after the contact with Myers. And then Wyatt A. Gray was down 121 laps after that crash on lap 39.
Let's look top to bottom at your in-sim official results after this one. The PPG Brickyard 400 here on iRacing. A few of the drivers actually standing on by to discuss things here after an eventful one. Sean Conklin was the one who came out on top, was up at the front much of the evening. Sean, 19 NIS Open wins. This one is a big one with the crown jewel. You kissed the bricks today. Talk us through how nervous that was with the fuel.
Oh, absolutely. This is a big one. Yeah, I won this race last year, but not the broadcasted one. I came second in that. So I'm really excited to get this win this year, and yeah, just extremely nerve-wracking there. There was a lot of people on the radio yelling out incidents and wrecks and all that stuff, and it was stressful. It was just, there's nothing you can do in that situation. You're just hoping that the track stays green and clear to the end, and hope that there's no yellow. And I'm so thankful that it was, because I've been on a strategy to win like this on multiple different occasions and multiple different races, where I'm good on fuel to the end, but most times, like 9 times out of 10, there's a yellow, like a late race yellow that affects everything, and it just flips the whole race upside down. But super happy and super grateful that this race went green to the end.
It was definitely an eventful one towards the closing stages. Agree with you on that one. But obviously, you've had a rocket ship when it comes to the open side. With you, with Coke Series, with various different leagues. What has been like having such the speed you've had in just about everywhere you've gone to put on where it's become a standard to expect you to lead double-digit laps a race?
Yeah, I enjoy running all sorts of different types of stuff. Just try to help improve myself. If you feel like if you stop racing, you kind of go backwards. So I'm still looking to go upwards and forwards and just trying to keep on bettering myself. So running a bunch of races, trying to keep that momentum rolling, and yeah, just super happy to start being competitive in a lot of different scenarios and a lot of different types of races. So yeah, it's been great recently. We got the NIS championship last year, and looking forward again this year.
And right now you're on the pathway to keep that going. Congratulations on the win tonight.
Thank you.
Sean Conklin shows why he's one of the drivers you have to beat if you want to win these top splits for the special events on the oval side. Junso Ulin, meanwhile, came away second after Dylan Basin ran out of gas. The EPI driver standing by with Jonathan.
At one point, Junsoon, you were in the wall with the number 11 about halfway through this race, seconds off the pace, seconds behind the leaders. Talk us through the climb back to just get second.
Oh my god, man. I'm actually speechless, man. Like, I did not deserve to be inside the top 10 any day of the week. Like that car should have been like gone to the garage after that hit. But I mean, thankfully, like we got a few cautions that we got lucky there, and this is like absolutely one of the best cars that we've built like ever, like since the update. And I mean, we got lucky with fuel saving, and Basin ran out of gas. A few people couldn't make it. Lateral, I believe Brad couldn't make it. Darius couldn't make it. So yeah, basically luck came to play. But yeah, in the end of the day, we still got P2, which is all that matters.
And talk us through that final stint of you're kind of in that hornet's nest fighting at the edge of the top 5, trying just to survive and also make that fuel number.
Oh yeah, I mean, it was stressful, man. I mean, like the fuel number, like getting there, I mean, it was no problem, but like the guys that were saving and not saving, like it kind of stressed me out. But also like the dirty air as well, like just in case, like I was kind of asking the lappers to like move out the way, but yeah, kindly like they got out the way, which was yeah very fortunate. And yeah, I mean, thank you to the lap cars, man. Like that saved my race. And I mean, that was incredibly like stressful, man. Like I mean, there was like someone on the radio that was keying up, like saying wrecking, and yeah, that kind of made me like really more anxious, like whether the caution was going to come out and if I was like not going to even get a good finish.
Well, congrats on P2. Is anyone you would like to thank before we let you go?
Oh man, a lot. I want to thank Jacob Brower, Joseph Klein, Matthew J. O'Brien. I mean, anyone that's like involved heavily in the A car. I mean, Jared Lieber, of course. I mean, he's been building rocket ships for the last few weeks there. And I mean, I wouldn't be like upfront without him.
Well, thank you so much, and you get to enjoy your second place.
Thank you.
Jutsu Lemon coming away in second position here in this one. I'd like to thank those drivers for taking the time to speak with us during post-race coverage here on iRacing and Racespot. Jonathan, tonight was an eventful one again, but in many ways we may have not expected. This was a race coming into tonight with the trends that we had a lot of attrition in some races, but tonight was a mostly clean and green night.
And I think maybe you and me were expecting a couple lap dash, maybe to the finish, maybe a crash, let's rack up the field again. But we stayed green that last stint, and you heard from our two drivers of Lim and Conklin, like they were so anxious of like someone could go around, someone could stack up the field again, and just it was a fascinating race to watch unfold.
It was a race that, yes, had 11 caution flags, but only 34 caution laps tonight. Much of the field, with the way things went late, kept long runs that helped decide what was an eventful end here for the Brickyard 400. Like to again thank everyone for tuning in for tonight's coverage, a part of the iRacing schedule. Remember, there's plenty of special events you can take a part in, including this weekend. You can still take part in this racing action if you want to compete on the open side on Sunday for a morning time slot. And there's many of the fixed time slots over the course of the weekend for the Brickyard 400. Or you can go road racing for the 6 hours at Road America that's a part of this weekend. But it's time for us to say goodnight from Indy. For my colleague in the booth, Jonathan Burke, for our producer once again in the broadcast booth, Ramiro Augustin Cisneros, I'm Justin Prince saying so long. Enjoy the rest of your evening. We hope you've been enjoying tonight's coverage of the Brickyard 400 here on iRacing and on Racespot. We'll see you next time with more special events in the